This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We are with you until 6 p.m. Jim just told you we have Aztec pregame coming up at 6. Ted Leitner, Uncle Teddy, will be in Colorado Springs for a must-win game that we'll get into tonight. San Diego State at the Air Force Academy. Will Brinson, NFL insider for us here on Jon and Jim. He will join us coming up at 4 p.m. Now, Jim and I have been on all kinds of Zoom calls all day long, and which never happens. Is that correct?
Rarely.
We're rarely on Zoom calls.
Rarely are we doing that stuff.
I was on a Zoom call with Jim at 11:30 in the morning, and at 9:30 in the morning, I went for a checkup to the dentist, just the routine 6-month checkup, right?
Yeah.
They numb my entire face.
That's not a checkup.
But it's a money-making scheme. I am changing my dentist. I'm not going to mention the dentist.
Did you know what you were going in for?
No, it happens every time I go there, and it's like you bring your car into the mechanic, and they're like, well, you could use a rotation, and you could use a better set of wheels, and the oil you're using.
That happened when I was a child. Our local dentist in the town that was next door, it turns out that he went to jail for fraud because, say, Jim came in, you could have perfect teeth, Jim. You got 6 cavities.
Exactly.
And then he'd fill in your teeth and charge you for cavities. And then it turned out that people didn't have cavities. He was just telling them that and billing them for it.
The moral of the story is I didn't have
Trust
feeling
no one
in my mouth until 30 minutes ago. And you saw me on the Zoom call. I couldn't move my mouth.
Oh, yeah. It was a disaster. I was like, this is going to be a fun show today.
But were you slapping your mouth trying to wake up?
Isn't there there's nothing really worse, especially if you're a talk radio host.
Yeah, having
Novocaine in the morning and knowing, and then they're like, "Oh, your show starts at 2 now."
Yeah,
not even 3.
If your job is to talk for a living, it's not great when your mouth is numb.
The last time this happened, Dylan Cease threw a no-hitter.
Yeah, but
I missed the show, but I did a wrap-up show with a numb entire mouth.
That was you had something wrong with your teeth.
I literally had gums put into my mouth.
You had gum surgery or something, right?
Yeah.
So okay, back up.
Pig gum.
So when you made this appointment, right?
Because I wouldn't do my actual gums, they put in an animal gum.
That's disgusting.
Isn't that?
That's very disgusting.
And that costs $1 million.
I don't want to go down that path, but
I'm a vegan and I have pig gum in my mouth.
How does that work?
I don't know.
When you made this appointment, or they made this appointment for you, a checkup,
6-month checkup.
They didn't tell you, or I'm guessing you didn't hear.
No.
Listen.
This was a teeth cleaning. Look,
they numbed your mouth for a teeth cleaning?
No, but they did the little. Do you ever go? This is a serious question. Do you ever go in and they check the receding, the recession of your gums? Serious question.
Yeah.
They put the little metal thing in there, 223, 221.
Yes. They checked.
Well, I'm 4, 5, 6.
Oh God, that's
so
awful.
That's why I had the pig gum surgery or whatever.
You're 4, 5, 6.
I have 6s in my mouth, dude, right now.
Oh.
So
dude,
what was I supposed
awful.
to do? Not listen to him? So he's like, I need to numb your entire mouth and clean your gum.
Now it makes more sense because my gums are all 2 3s and a couple 4s.
You have a couple 4s?
Maybe 1 or 2.
But that's fine.
That's fine. But mostly
you're mostly 2s and 3s?
I'm mostly 2s and 3s.
Did you have braces when you were young?
Oh yeah. And I didn't go to the dentist for years on end until I found my primary care dentist right down the street. And now I go for regular checkups and I go for regular teeth cleanings.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
I'm keeping on it because I don't want to have any more cavities.
No, you don't want 4, 5, 6s.
I already have a couple what are they called? Crowns in my mouth.
Yeah.
And one time one of the crowns broke and that wasn't fun.
Dude, I'm going back next week because they gotta replace the metal with the non-metal.
Oh God.
And that's $1,000.
Makes me cringe. You don't have insurance?
I do have insurance, but it doesn't cover whatever I'm having. I'm pretty sure, to Brent's point, my dentist is the same as.
Go down the street. They're great. Aero Dentistry. Okay. Shout out Aero Dentistry.
Right. I'm looking for a dentist.
They're great down there. I love them. I'm going there beginning of February.
Just tie a string around your tooth.
No.
Put it on a doorknob.
All right, we are in T-minus an hour to Roki Sasaki meeting with the media in Los Angeles. Now, presumably, he'll be with the translator because
if we speak English,
we're not going to carry the Japanese press conference, but it's going to be translated, presumably. So why did he choose LA? We've all theorized for weeks, Jim. I mean, maybe months. We've theorized for months. Why is it Los Angeles? Is it the fact that they win? Is it because they've got the money? Is it the market? Is it the development? Is he going to give us the reasons as to why? Is it Yamamoto? Is it Ohtani? Is it something about the other choices? Is San Diego not stable?
or he just not give any reason at all.
There's going to be so many questions asked that presumably he'll provide some reason as to why LA made sense. I'm kind of fascinated by it because we spent so much time theorizing on what mattered to Roki Sasaki. I want to hear it from him. Like, what was the reason from him that Los Angeles made the most sense?
This is like when your girlfriend breaks up with you and you want the reason why they broke up with you.
That's true.
Like you need to get over it, right? Because she's made her choice. She has moved on. She broke up with you. She has moved on. She's going with somebody else, maybe, right? But you still want to know the reason, just because, like, that might give you some semblance of closure. And that's how I feel about Roki. Like, I want to move on. It's been a weekend. He's made his choice. It happened last Friday afternoon. It's over with. He is not coming here to San Diego. He is going to be a Dodger.
Spend another 40 days.
Already signed with the Dodgers. But there is that part of me that's still like, I want to know why. I want to know the reason. We haven't heard Roki speak yet. And maybe he doesn't give that reason. And maybe he never does. But I just want to hear from the horse's mouth why you chose LA instead of all these other pieces as to why you chose LA. Just to give me some type of closure, because we've spent so much freaking time on this guy.
Only 4 months.
Only 4 months. And now he's with the Dodgers.
I think he'll answer it, but he's going to answer it like right out of the cliche handbook about, the Dodgers are a great organization. You got great history, blah, blah, blah. Then he's going to name drop, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Ohtani, and he's going to give the most cliche, boring answer ever. It's not going to be anything about the money or anything, or I want to win championships. He's going to tell us, and we're just going to be like, not really.
But here's the other thing, to Jim's point, like when you ask your girlfriend, or there's the closure via text or whatever these days, like, I don't even know how you provide closure on TikTok or something, or like AOL Instant Messenger back in like 2000.
Yeah.
But like these days, the excuse, it's not you. You're the best guy ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're too good for me. Yeah. That's why I decided to cheat on you with your best friend.
Right.
And maybe it's a bad hypothetical, but
cheated. Wow.
Well, I'm just saying that I don't know if we're going to get the actual answer. Like, it's so easy to be PC here, take a high road.
He doesn't seem like
say,
a guy.
All the organizations were great. I thought Chicago was terrific. San Diego, man, it was just spectacular throwing in Petco Park. It's a beautiful ballpark. I just thought with so many great options, this was just the best one for me.
Yeah.
I don't think he's taking shots at another organization, but imagine if he did, because we read the Athletic article that said the Dodgers continually hit on the point that the Padres aren't stable. Mm-hmm. They've got an ownership issue. They aren't stable. We are. And in that, pursuing of this player, they use that to their advantage, which makes sense. I mean, Padres probably would have done the same thing if the Dodgers had a lawsuit going on right now with ownership.
I would hope they would do the same thing. Like, it's all fair and love is war. Like, hey, if you see another team having issues and you are competing with that team for this player, absolutely, I'm hitting home the fact that they have these problems and issues while we don't. Like, that is totally fair. And I almost commend the Dodgers for doing that if they truly did continue to hammer that point home constantly with Roki, that we are stable here. And just a heads up, if you go here, it's not really stable. Like, look what's happening with them right now. And I hate to do it, but I give them credit for that, if that was the case. But yeah, I agree. There's likely not going to be anything that will satisfy us or Padres fans that will make us feel better about Roki picking the Dodgers over the Padres. It's the same thing with my analogy with the girl breaking up with you. There's never a reason that she or he could give you that will make you go, oh, you know what? I completely get it. Totally fine. I'm not mad at all.
I'll give you some like reasonable reasons for someone to break up with someone. Let's say you're dating someone in San Diego and she's like, I'm moving to Denmark. Okay. You're like, I'm not moving to Denmark. So you're breaking up.
Why do you hate Denmark?
You know what I mean? Like, there's some reasons where you're not going to, like, I feel like there's some.
What are you talking about?
I'm saying, like, there's some real reasons to break up with someone. Like, that's legitimate. What if someone's moving across the country? You're going to follow them?
So John hates Denmark.
And coming soon to Yahoo Denmark.
Yeah. And John also
hates
hates
Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying there's real reasons that you can break up with someone. You're right. I guess they're not always going to be like satisfactory for the person that's being broken up with.
They never are, John. Like they are never going to be something where if you're the person that gets dumped or whatever, where you're going to end up saying, you know what? Yeah.
But let me ask this. You know how we're all like, hey, was this a handshake deal? This deal was done. They've known it for weeks, if not months. Why was it then that the Dodgers were using, according to The Athletic, this angle that the Padres aren't stable in their pursuit of the player? And why was it that Shohei Ohtani found out before the Dodgers did, and Ohtani then texted the Dodgers and said, we got him?
Because they're bros, John.
But I'm saying, so does that mean there was not a handshake deal and it came down to the final day and even Ohtani didn't know where he was going to land until he got a text from Sasaki?
Maybe.
All right. Well, that kind of disproves some of the narrative of the handshake deal.
I never believed that there was a true handshake deal. I just think that there was always like the Dodgers were his favorite.
Right.
Like from the jump.
I'm waffling, I guess is my point.
Okay.
Some of me is down the path that it was predetermined, but other parts of me are like, well, why are the Dodgers using the Padres ownership against the Padres if they were already going to land them?
Well, because
just to further the point?
To further the point that, look, you go here, you're going to probably deal with some issues with the ownership. And the stability of that franchise is in flux right now.
Mm-hmm.
You choose us. You could not choose a more stable franchise than the Dodgers. Truly. There is not a single, baseball team right now that is more stable than the Dodgers. Name me one. I'll wait.
In baseball?
In baseball. Not one. Not one. Dodgers.
I mean, what's the definition? Is it based on winning or spending?
Everything. Like the full package. Spending, ownership, management, front office, players. They have it all.
Cohesive.
They are the most cohesive, put together team in the entire sport. And there is no close second. They are in their own universe when it comes to...
What about the Padres?
Well, they are, like I said, John, they are not close to the Dodgers as far as stability goes.
Would you feel differently if we didn't know about this lawsuit, or if the Padres... It's a different world. But I mean, would you feel differently if the Padres got to the NLCS and lost? And the Dodgers didn't win the World Series? Is the difference the one deciding game of the postseason? If the Padres won game 5-2-0, didn't lose game 5-2-0?
Like if the roles were reversed and the Padres won the World Series instead of the Dodgers?
No. I'm just saying if they won one more game, if they beat the Dodgers in the postseason for the second time in 3 years.
I still don't think they land Roki. Is that what you're trying to ask me?
Maybe. I don't know.
Like why? Like, okay. So what you're asking is if things were different in the postseason and they actually did beat the Dodgers, then...
But didn't win the World Series.
Okay.
Like they did in 2022.
Okay.
Would you say the Padres are running a stable, on-the-come franchise?
And we didn't know about the lawsuit?
Correct.
Yeah, I would.
So the lawsuit has a lot to do with it.
If you put
and
it
the
that
Dodgers
way,
won the World Series.
Yeah, you put it that way. I mean, before that lawsuit came out,
yeah, it felt like they were in a pretty decent spot.
There were questions, and I posed the question, and you did as well, John. But like, who's the owner of this team? And I know that the John Seidler news broke in late December from Kevin, and ironically, a week before the lawsuit dropped, we were talking on this show about, hey, are you guys going to speak? And who's this guy? And what's going on? And this doesn't make any sense. And then, ironically enough, that lawsuit drops the next week. But even if it doesn't drop, I still have questions for sure. Because never seen John before, never heard John before, never heard of the other Seidler bros before. And they're also not spending money. So that raises questions in itself.
All right, disregard the last 15 minutes for me because I'm on Novocaine. But on the other side, what's the dumbest thing that baseball can do moving forward? You'll hear that from Ken Rosenthal. Plus, Mark Ziegler joins us at 5:30. Will Brinson at 4 p.m. Stay with us. All right, Mark Ziegler joins us at 5:30. Will Brinson. We'll talk about the championship weekend coming up with Will. CBS Sports will join us at 4 p.m. We've got great giveaways today. San Diego State, San Jose State next week at Viejas. We've got a gift card to Morton's as well. So stay with us from now until our Aztec pregame coverage begins at 6 p.m. on Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. All right, so there hasn't really been a work stoppage in baseball for a while. Yes, we dealt with it a couple of years ago. Games were threatened, but they ended up playing the games. They played some doubleheaders in there. They played 162. They started a little late. Whenever that was, 2 or 3 years ago?
2021.
Okay, 2022?
No, it was 2021 because it was coming off of the 2020 season.
Okay.
Going into 2021. Okay. Remember that?
I do. So this CBA, this collective bargaining agreement, runs through 2026. So we have this season. We have next season, but that's not that much time. I mean, it's 18 months or whatever it is,
Goes by quick.
It goes by quick. So let's hear from Ken Rosenthal. We love this podcast, the Foul Territory podcast.
Oh, Sinister Sling Ken.
All right,
Kenny.
So what does Ken Rosenthal have to say about a potential work stoppage over the possibility of a salary cap in baseball? Listen.
One thing I want to come back to, Scott, on the point of the luxury tax and the possibility of a similar mechanism at the bottom of the payroll structure as there is at the top. You can't tell me from a simple fairness perspective that that isn't the right thing to do for this sport. We're not getting a cap, and the owners, if they're going to push for a cap, and I know they're going to push for a cap, they do it every CBA. Okay, you want to have a work stoppage after building some positive momentum, back-to-back years of increasing attendance? Be my guest. That would be the dumbest thing the sport could do. But how about making the penalties that much harsher at the top and instituting a series of penalties at the bottom? So if, for instance, the Pirates go under a certain payroll level, let's say 100 million just for the sake of discussion, maybe 120, then you lose draft picks, you pay money, whatever the penalties you want to institute might be. That, to me, is a solution. And that way, if you had that, maybe if you want to increase revenue sharing and tell the big market teams, listen, guys, we're going to do this, you'd have a better case, because in that situation, you would know the money would be spent. Right now, if I'm the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Mets and the Phillies and all these teams paying into the revenue sharing system, I would be ticked off by what I'm seeing. And this has been the case not just this offseason, but for a number of years, really decades in this sport.
But he's making the case. See, I think this happens a lot with people that cover the sport. He's making the case again that supports the big market teams and kind of devalues the small market teams. We all agree. It's not good if Oakland spends 30 mil and someone else is spending 400. Okay, I get it. Why not have a cap and a floor like all other major American sports? The NFL caps it and floors it. The NBA caps it and floors it. I know the NHL is a cap, but every NBA team is at 90% of the cap.
Yeah.
Every NFL team, we could look it up, is within they're within 10%. You know what I mean? So why not? I'm not saying, hey, make the A's spend 375 like the Dodgers, but why not just make a cap of 300 and say everyone's got to be between 200 and 300? That's way more money for the players. Yeah. If all the teams are spending more.
Now it would create a lot of bad contracts
because you'd have to spend to get up.
Yeah. And you'd be giving guys money probably when they shouldn't be given that type of money. I do like what the NBA does, where the team that the player's on, I'll just use Steph for an example.
Mm-hmm.
All right. If Steph became a free agent, the Warriors have the ability, because he was on the Warriors, to give him a larger contract than if he were to go to like the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
Lakers don't have that opportunity to give him like that super max deal. Warriors do. I think in baseball, if like Paul Skeens was asked the other day, about his future, and
did he laugh?
He's not saying it at this rate. He ain't staying with the Pittsburgh Pirates for his entire career. Like, the Pirates aren't spending money, and Paul Skeens is going to cost a fortune. But I like the fact, I would like if players that come up through a system, or they stay with the team, or like Jackson Merrill's instance, that the Padres have an advantage when it comes to a contract over other teams, like in the NBA, where
I agree with it.
Where the NBA, they can be like, hey, the Lakers can only give Steph 4 years, 100 million, while we, the Warriors, can give you 5 years, 150 million.
Yeah, but the dirty secret is the Padres don't want to pay more. Nor, you know what I mean? Like the only teams that want to do that, that's only going to benefit Yankees, Red Sox, Mets, Dodgers, Yankees.
Well, then that's why there has to be at least a floor.
I'm all for the floor. By the way, you can make them. You don't force a team to go from 80 to 280 overnight. Like I get that. You don't have to make Sacramento, the A's, go from an $80 million payroll to $200 million overnight. Okay, you could tier it in. Hey, get to 120 within year 1, 150 within year 2. But like without a floor, you have way more problems than any cap would present.
The Marlins payroll is like 70 million. That's ridiculous.
The Dodgers payroll is going to be
370.
5 times, more than 5 to 6 times. So, I mean, we could talk about this for forever because it's been an issue in the sport for forever.
Yeah.
But it really is holding it back. Like when we talk about what's the difference, NFL, NBA, they're never catching the NFL. Make no mistake. But what's some of the differences? What's different is you never talk about Pittsburgh in the NFL and pretend like it's irrelevant.
No.
They're a proud, historic franchise, and nobody ever has said, well, only 631,000 people live in the city. Nobody's ever said that. Mm-hmm. Nobody's ever talked about the Packers. Be like, you know what? Green Bay is not the same size city as LA. The Packers don't like fail because they're not in LA. All the teams spend the same amount of money in the NFL. I'm just saying it's holding baseball back.
It's holding baseball back from a standpoint of like every team having that opportunity. It's not Marlins are never going to do that. The Royals, the Royals did actually a lot last year. They actually spent. Pirates, they're never going to do that.
But here's the difference too. Green Bay gets the same amount of TV money.
I know.
Than the New York Giants.
Yeah, and that's not it in baseball.
If you took all the money, if you took the total TV revenue and divided by 30, they'll never do it.
It just makes things so much harder for your sport because the parity, when it comes to offseason, not on the field, but when it comes to offseason and making moves, the parity is as wide as the Grand Canyon. Now, if your argument is, well, Jim, look at the last 9 World Series winners. They're all different. Or, last year you had an 85-win team make the World Series against an 87-win team in the World Series. Like, okay, I get that point. Yes, you have to actually play the games. And there is, when it comes down to it, anything can happen. Yeah, there is parity in baseball on the field when it comes to postseasons. But when it comes to off seasons and building teams, the parity could not be wider.
Plus, there's 10 teams. I'm with you on the parity. There's 10 teams that haven't sniffed anything of relevancy in 10 years. Yeah. 10 teams that have done nothing in 10 years. All right, on the other side, speaking of a team that could do something, what are the Padres' needs heading into 2025? Truck days tomorrow. The bats and the balls and the batting helmets, they're going to Peoria tomorrow. What are the Padres' needs? Plus, coming up at 4 p.m., Will Brinson, our NFL insider, Mark Ziegler, joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. Great giveaways. This is Jon and Jim. Stay with us. Have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings?
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State takes on Air Force tonight, 7 p.m. tip, 6 p.m. pregame. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 7-6. The NBA news of the day. This is breaking news. The Heat are once again suspending guard Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. NFL news of the day. The Jets are hiring former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. And the Jaguars have finally fired their general manager, Trent Baalke. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, so Roki Sasaki will speak with the media coming up within the next 30 minutes. As we get that audio from the translator, preferably, I think our listeners would probably prefer that. We'll bring it back for you at some point in the 3 p.m. hours. So, like you said, that's officially official. It's off the table. The Dodgers made that announcement today. Roki Sasaki has officially signed a deal. So, yeah, that's done. But the Padres, like we said, tomorrow is truck day. The bats and the balls and batting helmets make their way for Peoria. They report February 12th. Their first full workout's February 17th, and they start playing a week later. Well, there are needs. I mean, I'm at the depth chart right now, and there are needs really everywhere, you could argue. I mean, just in broad terms, Jim, starting pitching, I would say that's a need. They were all in on Roki.
Mm-hmm.
Bullpen, they don't have Tanner Scott. I mean, I think the bullpen's good, but I think they still have holes. Infield, Hassan Kim's not coming back. Left field, Jerks and Profar, we'll see. Catcher, their catcher is no longer here in Higgy. So, like, they got needs everywhere. Bench?
Yeah. So, all right, John, I'm going to break down
break it down for me.
Their position players, and I want you to tell me if it's good enough or not. Okay?
Okay.
Catching. Right now on their 40-man roster, Luis Campusano and Brett Sullivan.
No. What about Martin Maldonado?
He's not on the 40-man. He's a minor league deal.
He's your starting catcher against San Francisco March 27th.
If Martin Maldonado is their starting catcher on opening day, they got problems.
Do you think that's minus 110, or is it Luis Campusano minus 110?
I hope. I don't know.
So they have needs a catcher.
All right. First base, they have designated Luis Ariz and Jake Cronenworth.
Yeah, I'm down.
Okay.
Yep.
Second base, they have Xander, Luis Ariz, and Wadey.
Yeah, that's fine.
And also Jake Cronenworth as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
Third base, you got Manny, Wadey, and Eggy Rosario.
It's perfect because Manny hopefully plays 150 times.
Shortstop could be Xander or Tyler Wadey.
It's a problem if Xander's playing second base.
Well, I'm just giving you like what the depth chart is showing here.
Yeah.
So right now, their starting 9, according to this depth chart, would be Luis Campusano as their catcher.
Mm-hmm.
Luis Ariz is playing first base. Jake Cronenworth does that second. Manny Machado's at third. Xander's at short. Brandon Lockridge is in left. Jackson Merrill's in center. And Fernando's in right. And their designated hitter would be Eggy Rosario.
Yeah, I mean, they could use some upgrades at left field DH catcher.
Yes, they could.
That's where you would start.
Yes, they could. Their bench right now, John, would be a combination of Tyler Wade, Brandon Lockridge, Tirso Ornelas,
and Brett Sullivan. And Martin Maldonado?
Well, he's on a minor league deal.
All right, that's not great.
No. So that just emphasizes the gigantic holes that this team has when it comes to their position players. Pitching, look, it's not as dire as having, the holes that they have with their catching position in left field and DH and their bench. Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, Randy Vasquez, Matt Waldron, Johnny Brito. That's all the starters they have right now. It's not the worst in the world. There's much worse than that.
Yep.
I'm okay with that if they don't make any moves, but I would still argue that they need to make some moves.
Okay.
All right. Their bullpen is actually looking pretty good. Robert Suarez, Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morhone, Brian Hoeing, Yuki Matsui, Wandy Peralta, Sean Reynolds, Alec Jacob, Stephen Kolek, Tom Cosgrove, and Juan Nunez now.
It's actually pretty good.
So bullpen, I'm good with that. If they don't trade Robert Suarez, I'm pretty good with that, bullpen mix. It won't be all of those guys, but those are the players that are on the 40-man as of right now. And, you're missing Joe, obviously, but their biggest holes and their biggest needs come down to their position players, in my opinion. And it's like not even close.
Yeah, but I also wonder, now that we put it that way, when you spell it out, like here's what their pitching looks like and here's what their position players look like in lineup. Honestly, if we go back to seeing the Padres trying to win games 4-3, as opposed to, a very capable offense last year, right? Like a top 8 offense.
Great offense.
If that offense slides from, top 8 to top 15, but your pitching staff under Niebla is legitimate.
Well, their pitching staff would need to take a jump then.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, I don't know if it'll need to take a crazy jump. I think the pitching, now I'm with you, the 4th and 5th starters, you don't know if Joe Musgrove, is Darvish going to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're banking on some things, but I think their pitching at least gives you a shot to still vie for a playoff spot. Like their pitching on paper is pretty good.
If I told you, what would you rather have? Would you rather have a team, when it comes down to the stats, has the 4th best pitching staff in baseball and the 15th best offense in baseball? Or would you take the team that has the 2nd best offense in baseball and the 16th best offense?
Yeah, you know the answer.
Best pitching in baseball? Yeah. You take the pitching every day of the week.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, could under Niebla, could you ride the Niebla magic, maybe 1 or 2 moves from Preller, to a top 6 staff? So you have a top 6 staff. It's top 20%. You got a great pitcher's yard historically in Petco. So now you have a top 6 staff. And then let's say you have a top, to your point, 15 offense. Very fair with Machado, Tatis, Arise, Bogarts. I get it. It falls off. Merrill. It falls off. I get it. But top 15, I think, is at least legitimate. That could be a top 10 team in the sport. And that gets you into playoff, consideration.
Yeah.
That might be the more of the path. Like, again, I thought they did outslug at times. They were never out of a game last year. No. Came back from 5-0 down, 8-0 down. I just wonder if this year it's going to be more reliant on the pitching. And again, are you going to have a top 5 offense? No, probably not. They probably won't if they don't have Jerks and Profar back, if they don't have the production from catcher like they got last year with Higgy. But I think you'd still win with the top 15 offense.
I think you could too, but don't get me wrong. The holes that they have are not just like small holes. They're gigantic craters. They are, they're meteor craters, in my opinion. Because if you got like left field production wise, the last 2 years, you've gotten all-star caliber production from your left fielder with Juan Soto in 2023 and Jerks and Profar in 2024. Mm-hmm. So you're going to go from all-star level production in left field the last 2 years to Tirso or Neelas and Brandon Lockridge?
My guess is no. My guess is that
as of right now, that's what they have.
True, but same kind. Rewind, Jon and Jim, 365 days to today.
I know.
And we were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And then they signed Jerks and Profar. So that's at least reasonable. To make one major league signing is reasonable. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to end up with Profar.
Correct. They could end up with a number of different
players. And not pan out.
Yeah, Profar could sign with the Blue Jays or the Mets or whatever. But as it is constructed right now, I know things can change. I'm telling you, they have crater size holes in this lineup and on this team.
I agree with that. And I do. I think they're in a weaker spot today than the day the season ended, and that's inarguable. The day the season ended, we still thought Joe Musgrove was healthy, at least heading into the postseason, and Jerks and Profar was in left field. So that alone, you're worse off.
Yeah, realistically, they need one more starter. They need a left fielder. They need a catcher. They need at least 2 bench pieces. And they need to figure out what they're going to do at shortstop. Is it going to be Xander or not? Because if it's going to be Xander, then, all right, Xander needs to produce. And he needs to produce in a big way. But if it's not going to be Xander, then you have a whole nother gigantic hole that you have to replace at shortstop. So at this time last year, John, yes, they did not have Jerks and Profar. They did not have Dylan Cease, and they did not have Luis Arise. I understand that.
Big pieces.
But they did have a catcher in Higgy that they got. They did have that at least one viable starter in Michael King that got back. They had a couple other pieces in the bullpen that you could be like, okay, yeah, we'll see. Now, they didn't turn out to be much. And Yuki Matsui and Wandy Peralta. Yuki was fine, but Wandy Peralta was awful, and Woosuck Go never saw him. But at least you had something there. They have nothing here. They've done nothing. Now, is that because they have these contracts and they need these guys to produce this year? Yeah, that's true. They need Xander to produce. They need these guys to produce at a level that they're getting paid for. If that doesn't happen, that is a major problem. But still doesn't take away the fact that the holes on this team still remain, and there has been nothing done yet, as of right now, to address those holes.
What's crazy to me is that spring training starts in 2 weeks, and around Major League Baseball, heading into the offseason at MLB.com, of their top 10 free agents this offseason, 3 of them still have not signed. The top 10 free agents in the sport, 3 of them have not signed. That would include, and they're not coming here, Alex Bregman, also, just looking at Pete Alonso, and also Jack Flaherty. I mean, this is a sport-wide issue. If I looked at the available free agents right now, and again, it's a San Diego issue too. It's not impacting the Dodgers. They're making signings left and right. There's so many free agents available that it's hard to fully go in on what they have or have not done.
But they're not going to get any of those free agents.
Not the top 10, but I'm saying in general, I don't know who just told us this. Someone came on, maybe Kyle Glazer, saying there's dozens of free agents that are just waiting.
Yeah.
There's dozens of major league players from 2024 that are just waiting. I don't know if the Padres are going to act on any of them or not. I'm just saying there are dozens of players that are not Pete Alonso that are still waiting to sign with a major league team. All right, on the other side, it is a must-win game, right? Tonight for San Diego State. We will get into it.
Are we joking here or not?
No. We're serious. On the other side, we'll get into a must-win game for the Aztecs. We have Aztec basketball tickets for next week to give away. Will Brinson will join us. We'll talk about the conference championship weekend coming up at 4 p.m. Mark Ziegler on the Aztecs at 5:30. Is Reese Waters going to play this season or not? Mark will join us at 5:30. We're here until 6, Jon and Jim. All right, a week from tomorrow is the Fire Aid Benefit Concert, Thursday, January 30th, raising money for rebuilding communities devastated by the wildfires and supporting efforts to prevent future fire disasters throughout Southern California. For donations and concert information, visit fireaidla.org. This will be broadcast on the iHeartRadio app and iHeartRadio stations nationwide. Again, Thursday, January 30th. Turn your mic on, idiot.
How's the mouth, John? Whoa, pause. Just kidding.
Weird.
Nope. I didn't mean to say that.
It's kinda,
I didn't mean to say
it's
that.
kind of sore.
No.
It is.
Oh my.
Because I had a full.
Stop. Just stop. Just stop there. Just don't say any more. That's just not. No, don't say anything more about what we just talked about. No.
Phrasing.
My mouth hurts.
Phrasing.
Because I went to the dentist.
Okay, there we go. Man, that's the most out of context thing you could hear on a show. How's your mouth feel? Well, it's really sore.
Right.
Kind of hurts a little bit.
John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Will Brinson coming up at 4 p.m. We'll get into this weekend. Winners go to the Super Bowl, Jim. You realize that?
Oh, I thought you were asking me, like, do they go?
No,
yes,
they do. There's 4 teams
John,
left.
They go
So
to
the last
Super
two
Bowl.
are going to go to the
This
Super
is
Bowl.
championship weekend. What do you think it is?
So Will Brinson at 4. Mark Ziegler is going to join us coming up at 5:30. By the way, we do want to hear from you. 877-767-4760. Remember the Loose Cannons headline segment?
How could I forget?
What is Roki going to say to the media? That's probably a bad thing to ask, but 70470 started with team or 877-767-4760.
That segment always morphed into Dean Spanos is awful.
Yeah, it's so
You're
true.
like, okay.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So in addition to the Padres, again, Roki Sasaki is going to meet with the media at some point in the next 10 or 15 minutes, and we'll bring you any audio that's relevant from his translator coming up in the 3 p.m. hour. The Aztecs play tonight, and they're trying to bounce back from a home loss. You talked about this, I think, yesterday. They've lost 2 of their last 3 home games, Utah State and UNLV. You know, on its face, okay. But here's the deal. Did you realize this? Were you watching UNLV Wyoming last night? It's like me asking.
Dude.
What's that like me asking you? Or that's like you asking me, were you watching SmackDown Plus on like E? No, I wasn't watching SmackDown Plus on E.
There's no such thing as SmackDown Plus on E.
But I mean, it's the equivalent.
If I asked you, hey, did you watch Raw last night on Netflix? You'd be like, excuse me?
It wasn't on, dude. It was Tuesday.
I'm just giving you an example, bro.
I'd be like, no, I didn't watch Raw.
Of course you didn't. Of course
Yeah,
I didn't
know.
watch Wyoming UNLV.
Yokozuna beat 1-2-3 Kid or whatever. But
That'd be amazing because he died like 10 years ago.
whatever.
That'd be a great match.
The point is, so okay, you lose to UNLV. They got a really good point guard, upstart, whatever. Did you see what happened last night? The answer is no. UNLV
not.
goes back home. They take on Wyoming.
They lost, right?
They lost.
Yeah, that's not good for the Aztecs.
No, I mean, you're playing UNLV, you're playing Wyoming, whatever. But the point is, tonight on the road, Colorado Springs, the Air Force Academy, you just beat them by 29. But remember, they trailed 20-8.
Yeah, it wasn't looking
In
good
that
in the
game?
first 10 minutes of that game.
Like, this is not only a must win, this is a must look like San Diego State.
Like, you need to whoop their ass.
Okay.
Like, I'm just telling you pretty bluntly. Like, you need to have a game where it's damn near a complete outing from this team. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'd like to see, 40 minutes, put UNLV to the side.
Yeah.
Look like San Diego State looked against, Creighton earlier this year or on the road at Boise State.
Mhm.
Win convincingly, because then you have another big game at Nevada. Or that is a really big game at Nevada on Saturday night.
Now, full transparency, I was back home on Saturday. I was out to dinner with my parents. I didn't watch a second of that game,
Oh, nice.
but what was the feeling like after that game ended? Was it like they just didn't play good basketball? They weren't interested. UNLV played much better. They got hot. They couldn't stop them. Like, what was the main takeaway from that game against UNLV, John?
The take was from like Dutch post game and what he said, and some of the players, and even Mark Ziegler writing about it, was they didn't start the game. They didn't match the UNLV intensity. UNLV is like, oh my gosh, 12,000 fans. This is the big game.
Okay.
We lost the Mountain West quarterfinals. Of the Aztecs' first 10 shots, 9 of them were threes.
Mhm.
So it was almost like 1 pass 3.
Okay.
1 pass 3.
So you know what? That makes me feel like it was one of those games where they had the mindset going in, we're going to blow these guys out. And they got in the court And like, you can't just walk on the court and throw the ball in the air and expect to, you got to actually do the work. And without watching, but just hearing you say things like they just one pass shot. Maybe the effort level as far as like the intensity what there wasn't from the Aztecs.
I wouldn't say effort. It's just
not
like
effort, but intensity of like, hey, we're going to take this seriously.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. UNLV looked like what's the best Warriors team of all time?
I think it was a 2017 team.
Right. They win like 70 games.
No.
Whatever.
They went 15-1 in the postseason. It was the first year with KD.
That's what UNLV looked like. You know what I mean? Like they looked so good.
Looked like the 98 Bulls.
They looked like so good. Like they couldn't get a stop when they needed to. They pulled to within 3, Jim, with 10 minutes to play. They were down 13 and they pulled within 3 and then they couldn't get any closer. And just San Diego State didn't look like itself. Just missed some easy shots. And the point is, you just got to, like, from this point on, here, I'll give you an example. I went to ESPN.com today.
Oh, it's great.
You'll love this.
As you should.
And I clicked on NCAA men's basketball. They have their first,
of course you did.
They have their first like bubble watch of the season, not bracketology. Okay.
Okay.
So you click on it, you scroll down, and you get
like the sound effects.
You get to high mid majors, is what they call the Mountain West.
Okay.
And listen to what they write about San Diego State. First of all, this is what they say. They say San Diego State has a 50-50 chance to get in.
Yeah, that UNLV loss ain't going to help.
Right now, they have a 50-50 chance to get in. And they basically say they don't have a lot of margin, which is what we've been saying. So they're not going to have to be perfect. They don't have to win every game they play because they play like Utah State on the road, yada, yada. But, like, you can't slip up. I think the UNLV home loss, a game like that, you have to win from here on out.
I do feel like, after that UNLV loss, there's going to inevitably be another loss down the road like that in the regular season. I just feel that way.
They're just a young team.
They're a very young team, and it's just, I just feel like there's going to be another loss like that in the rest of this regular season.
So you think they have to steal like at Utah State?
Not only do I think they need to steal, I think they might be put in a position where they have to win the Mountain West Conference tournament.
Ooh, don't say that yet.
But
I see what you're saying. You're saying the trend lines are, if they've already lost at home to Utah State and UNLV, if they have another slip up, then they may have to win the Mountain West tournament.
That's kind of where I feel like this thing might be going. It's not the worst thing in the world. I think, we might have
done it before.
Yeah, they've done a lot before.
Yep.
I think taking a step back and realizing this team is super young is something that Aztecs fans aren't really accustomed to because of how great this program has been the last 5, 6, 7 years with Dutch. That every year it's like, they're the cream of the crop in the Mountain West Conference regular season. And if not, then they go to the conference title game every single year.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be tough this season because of how young they are, and just they haven't played much basketball together. But and also what makes it tough too is like you've seen their peak already with their games against Creighton and against Houston.
Yeah, they beat Houston.
And at Boise, and you're like, the peak and the level that they could play at is so good that I don't know if they can maintain that peak for an entire season because of just how inexperienced they are.
I mean, metrically speaking, they beat the third best team in America on a neutral floor. Houston is third in the metrics. All right, we will bring you everything you need to hear from Roki Sasaki. Do not go anywhere. He's speaking with the media within the hour. Will Brinson will join us at 4 p.m. We'll talk about the conference championship games. Much more in the Aztecs coming up at 5:30 with Mark Ziegler. Great giveaways. Hour 2 of Jon and Jim comes your way next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with San Diego State. They take on Air Force tonight in Colorado Springs. 7 p.m. tip time, 6 p.m. pregame right here on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Breaking news in the NBA, the Heat are once again suspending Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. And NFL news today, the Jets, they hired former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to be their next head coach. And the Jags have officially fired their GM, Trent Baalke. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. By the way, we stream on YouTube. We're on 1015 HD, channel 2. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio app, sportssd.com. So wherever you consume content, we are there.
Put us in your presets on the new iHeartRadio app, even though John doesn't have it yet for some reason.
I don't have the new app.
But if you did have the new app, then put us in your presets. Put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. Put the Jon and Jim podcast in your presets, and you're all ready to go.
Actually, it's a fair point because we even stream right now on Instagram. Is there any platform that we're not on?
Yeah.
Where people would consume content? Seriously.
Yeah, I don't put this on Facebook. I don't put this on
LinkedIn.
Like Twitch.
Why aren't we on
LinkedIn? I mean, I can if I wanted to.
Oh, look at you. You can put us on LinkedIn?
We're not streaming on X currently, even though I could.
That's because we don't have a check mark.
But I could right now.
You do have a check mark.
Ooh,
You're right.
Touched my hand
weird.
there. That was very weird.
Show's getting so
Whoa, we're talking about mouths and you're touching me.
Right. Anyway, the point
Pause.
is we're available wherever you consume content. If you have HD Radio 1015, HD Channel 2, if you've got the radio 760, iHeartRadio app, YouTube, right? So wherever you get your content, we're available for you weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. And then, of course, if you want to listen back on delay, you can do so as well with the podcast. What are you laughing at?
Never mind. I'm not even going to go there.
I'm just reading.
Moving on.
Okay,
there's some funny comments in the chat.
Okay.
There's always funny comments in the chat.
I wanted to let people know that Roki is speaking with the media.
Yes.
Okay, so Roki is currently speaking with the media live from Dodger Stadium.
Oh, I see it. Oh,
so that's going on right now.
It's live stream.
And the Dodgers live stream, by the way, on Twitter has 24 views. So it's been very successful. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm fascinated. Now, again, I don't know Japanese, so we can't carry it for you live because that's going to be very cumbersome. There'll be a translator, obviously. Yeah. It's in the U.S. I'm fascinated by the line of questioning and the answers to some of these questions. I don't think it's going to be entirely PC rah-rah. I could be wrong. I think there could be a legitimate question or two. Why LA? Plans for 2025, 6-man rotation. I mean, will San Diego come up in any capacity? I wouldn't be surprised if it did in some capacity.
Well, there's going to be a question. And if there's not, then
shame on everyone.
Exactly. Of what was the main reason why he chose the Dodgers over, the other finalists, which were the Blue Jays and the Padres. And by the way, this is not a just regular setup for a player, like a regular signing.
It's like the Ohtani thing, right?
Dude, they're outside of Dodger Stadium. They have a giant stage setup with 6 chairs. They're like movie chairs, so they're not a table. They have a giant
casting chairs.
Yeah, they have a giant podium, and then they have like 10 rows deep of chairs set up outside. I mean, it just shows you how big of a player this would have been for the Padres.
Oh my gosh.
How this could have been a transformative move if the Padres landed him. Now, look, he could turn out to suck. I don't know. He could be awful. But just from the onset, how the Dodgers are treating this, I mean, rolling out the red carpet for this guy, it's just you're watching your ex with another dude or girl, and it just stings, and you got to get over it. I understand that, but you want to see initially what's going on first. You're spying on them. You're checking their Instagram stories, even though you shouldn't be. You should be trying to move on, but you can't help yourself, and you're doing it anyway. and then eventually you'll be okay. But in like the first couple weeks of that breakup, you're checking that person's Instagram. You're looking at everything. And right now, the dude's getting the full red carpet treatment.
Well, let me ask you this. What happened to the guy that I was told was very private, that didn't want to be in a large market? He's doing like high fives and special handshakes with LeBron James last night.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's courtside. He's courtside at the Lakers game. Mr. Private, mid-sized market. Mr. We thought he'd prefer maybe the Oceanside Arena. The Staples Center, as you tweeted about.
Like, you don't want to go to a San Diego Clippers game?
Yeah, so he's like, whatever, doing the cool fist bumps with LeBron. Today he's pulling up in a limo to Dodger Stadium. They're rolling out a true red carpet. They've got casting chairs on the set for Roki. He's going to speak with hundreds of media members. Was that all? What was that? What were we supposed to be thrown off course with that? What was that? Mr. Private doesn't do well with the media, doesn't want to be in a big city. Was that just a complete lie?
That's why the handshake agreement, people will take that as
Right.
that, it was true, because you're trying to throw everyone off course. It feels like you're trying to tell people, oh, no. That's not the case. There was no handshake agreement. Yet everything you said Roki wouldn't want, he's going to a place that has. It's the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a small market. It's not a, soft landing. Like, it's just not. It's the complete
really
opposite
not.
of that. You are in the spotlight from day one. And by the way, how could you not be with what they're doing right now? He's front row to Lakers game last night.
This isn't a Zoom press conference.
No, I mean, the Padres might have a Zoom press
But
conference.
that's what I'm saying. Like, but if you want it, by the way, he said he determines it. If
Yeah.
he didn't want it to be like this,
Right.
it'd be inside. If he wanted to do it over Zoom for Japanese reporters, like, he could do it over Zoom. They ran this by him. So it is just a little interesting.
Vindicator in the chat said, Jim, Roki never said those things. You know who did
Well, we
say
didn't
those
hear
things?
from Roki.
But you know who said those things, Vindicator?
Joel.
His freaking agent.
Yeah, Joe Wolf made it pretty clear. Like he had this bad relationship with the Japanese media, and he may prefer a mid-sized market. I mean, and Joe Wolf, I don't think was the only one he's not a reporter to say those things.
Like, imagine if today Roki comes out and says, yeah, I wanted to be in the biggest market. You know how that's
Okay,
going to
wait,
make Joe
what?
Wolf look?
Yeah.
Like, what? You just completely lied to everybody.
Or if he
2
comes
months
out and he's
ago.
like, I knew all along I wanted to go to the Dodgers. Like, well, hold on. What was this whole song and dance about?
Right.
I don't think he'll do that because I think he knows the ramifications of doing that.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it, didn't we? Did Major League Baseball open an investigation before the process to make sure there was no evidence that the Dodgers had colluded? Think about that. Before the posting period opened, Major League Baseball opened an investigation to make sure there was no collusion. So they had done a deep dive, supposedly.
So I'm now seeing pictures, and this is just, it's tough to watch. But
It's your ex, man.
Is it me, or is Roki Sasaki a giant human being?
He's very giant.
Are you looking?
He's also very young.
Are you looking at the
He's
picture
like
I'm looking
LeBron.
at? Dude, he's
like-
massive.
He's huge.
Why is he the biggest person I've ever seen
You're
in my
right.
life?
He is so big. He makes Dave Roberts look like a
I'm-
micro machine.
He's standing next to Andrew Friedman and Dave Roberts, and he makes them look very tiny.
Dude, this guy's huge. He's also really young, right?
23 years old.
He's a monster. You're right.
Yeah, this one stings a lot. This one really hurts. Because
Give me
of-
another example. Has there been something else where the Padres have? I mean, is this the Scherzer situation?
no,
This is
he was-
worse, right?
No, it was worse. I'm trying to think. That's a good question. I don't, off the top of my head.
Right. Is this Aaron Judge meets with Peter Seidler or Trey Turner?
No, like recently. Give me, okay, maybe I got one. It's Adrian Gonzalez in a Dodgers uniform. Now, it's different from a standpoint of like Adrian was here and he played and he produced and he helped his team win, and he was an all-star and whatnot.
Right.
And Roki never was a Padre. But like seeing somebody in a Dodgers uniform that you either had on your team or like you almost had on your team kind of stings. And it's like when you see Blake Snell in a Dodgers uniform, that's going to suck. We see
Blake
Tanner
Snell's-
Scott in a Dodgers uniform, that's going to suck.
Blake Snell's a little different because even when he was here, he was a very polarizing figure. Like we talked about Blake Snell for 70 starts, and
Right.
never did we. You know what I mean? There were so many highs and lows. The Blake Snell story was an interesting one. Even a Cy Young season, not everyone was happy with Blake Snell. So I think people were okay with him moving on. But the problem with Roki is you never had him. You know what I mean? Like, we experienced Juan Soto. You know what it's like.
You're
You
right.
experienced Blake Snell. This is like the girl that you never had.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah, right. There's a difference here.
Yeah.
This isn't being broken up with, dude. You never had her.
Yeah, you're right.
You never even dated.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a comp, but I guess there's really not one that I can think of off the top of my head.
Thank the Lord they didn't sign him. If he came in the studio and took a photo with us, you would look like you're like 2 inches tall, man. It'd be like, what's that movie? Honey, I Shrunk the Gym. And John.
You son of a
I mean, we'd be tiny.
dude. He
He'd
is
be like hitting
massive.
the ceiling in here.
He's
No wonder he throws 100 miles an hour. He doesn't even have to get rid of the ball.
the internet says he's 6'3", but then he looks like he's
6'3".
6'7", dude.
He's 6'4".
6'4". I mean,
Yeah.
that's huge. I mean, he looks bigger than that.
He
I'm
does.
6'4".
But I know, but he looks bigger than you.
He does.
And he throws harder than you, Brent. I
Yeah,
mean,
but Dave
way
Roberts
harder.
is only 5'10".
Is that
though.
okay?
So if
I
I,
can
was
see
standing
that.
next to Dave
Yeah.
Roberts, I'd probably
tower over.
look, huge too.
So that's
Okay.
how tall I look. Is I'm Dave Roberts.
You'd be dwarfed, dude.
Oh my
By
gosh.
this dude. He is huge.
So Andrew Friedman must be like 5'8".
Yeah, that is kind of weird. They're all really small on the stage.
Dude, this sucks.
It does.
I was trying to get over it, and I thought after like he spoke, I would be fine. But seeing him in a Dodgers uniform and knowing, or at least it being perceived as, the Padres were a finalist and a heavy finalist, and then he was here in San Diego throwing. Remember, last week we had a whole entire hour dedicated to watching a 10-second video of Roki throwing on the field.
Dude, it was like the greatest hour in the history of Jon and Jim. Well, what about you read the Athletic article where the homework he gave every team
Yes.
was, how are you going to improve my velocity?
Yeah.
So he took all that research
And he just
from the Cubs and
Yeah.
the Padres and whomever else, the Giants, right?
Yeah.
Blue Jays. And guess what? Now he signed with the Dodgers. Think about that. You took some of the best knowledge in the sport, not just LA, but you took it from other pitching coaches and other development programs. And the Padres put a presentation together and said, here's why your velocity was down last year. Here's how we can fix it. He now has that knowledge heading into LA. That's kind of pure evil genius.
It really is, and he has jumped to close to the top of my list as most hated Dodgers.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Without him even pitching?
Yeah. I mean, Max Muncy's still definitely up there along with Will Smith, but
we read through like 16 the other day.
But just knowing that this guy, I don't know, man, some feels off. Some just feels a little off to me. And all the BS from Joe Wolf about him wanting to be in a small market and soft landing and yada, yada, yada. And then he goes to LA and he's getting this treatment. And I don't like him anymore. And I loved him a week ago, but I don't like him anymore.
I'm with you. All right. What will Roki say during his press conference? We'll bring it to you when we have it. Will Brinson on Conference Championship Weekend at 4 p.m. Plus, this hour, a chance to win Aztec basketball tickets against San Jose State coming up next week at Viejas Arena. We're here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego Sports.
All right, so the quotes are rolling in right now from Roki's press conference. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Will Brinson at 4 p.m. We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets coming up in 10 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Can I read you a couple, Jim?
Sure, John.
All right.
In Japanese.
All right, so Roki says he's aware that his choice to sign with the Dodgers has garnered a lot of mixed reactions around baseball. This is the quote from Roki. I want to move forward with the belief that the decision I made is the best one. Wow. Very hot. He then said, putting on this Dodgers uniform today, I'm reminded that my journey is just about to begin, and it makes me feel more focused than ever.
Okay.
Let me give you one more.
Okay.
And how about this one? I had the opportunity to speak to a lot of teams. I thought that the Dodgers were at the top.
Can I give you one?
Yeah.
Just dropped moments ago. Roki Sasaki speaks on Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto joining the Dodgers last year. Quote, the number one thing that stood out to me was the stability of the front office.
No.
Yeah.
But not of the ownership.
Well, I mean, you could say both if you want.
But that's not what he said. What did he say? Read it again.
He said the number one thing that stood out was the stability of the front office.
Dude, I told you the S word would come up.
Roki also said that he let Shohei and Yoshinobu Yamamoto know he was signing with the Dodgers over text message before he sent out his Instagram post.
Must be nice.
Like I said the other day, the Dodgers were playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. You signed Yoshinobu Yamamoto to that $325 million contract. Everyone's saying, oh my God, that's a lot of money. Guess what? They knew the relationship that Yoshinobu Yamamoto had with Roki Sasaki, along with Shohei Ohtani. And I guarantee you in that front office, they were like, if we spend the money to get this guy, it might be an overpay, but if we get him, that damn near locks us to get Sasaki as well.
But do you think when he says the number one thing that stood out was the stability of the front office, is that like a shot across to San Diego or not? Because San Diego's front office has been stable, right? You've had the same GM for a decade.
Well, I mean, Kyle Glazer just put out Roki Sasaki. The number one thing that stood out, was the stability of the front office. And right. I mean, AJ Preller's been here for 10 years. I mean, that's stability, right?
That's what I'm saying. But is he saying, when he says front office, is he saying alignment all the way up to ownership?
Well, also, how many managers has AJ Preller gone through? A lot.
But that's not front office.
I know. I am going to view it this way. Okay. I'm going to view it as it's everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Not just one in particular thing. And it's not him just talking about Andrew Friedman. I am going to interpret it as him saying all of it.
From Guggenheim
yes.
to GM to manager to player personnel to player development.
Right.
Yeah. Winning.
I do not think that when he mentions the stability of the front office, he's only talking about Andrew Friedman.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I ask it. Because when you say it that way, it's not a clear shot. If he said the number one thing to me was the stability of ownership, I'd be like, whoa, oh my gosh, I can't believe he said. Maybe he meant it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, it's all Shields' fault, because I don't put the blame on.
I'm with you on that.
I don't put the blame on that at all. I think, Shield has to do what she has to do. And again, we talked about there's no right timing for any of this. And honestly, if that lawsuit never came out, I don't even know if it makes a difference.
Right. I mean, is he really choosing San Diego if there wasn't a lawsuit 2 weeks ago? I mean, is that really the difference?
No.
And by the way, we're both proponents. I think all things being equal, I'm with you from what we said day one. I'm a proponent of Shield having access to the organization. I don't know what I mean? I don't know if I'm saying she should be the chairperson, but I believe she's got a legitimate case to the future of the franchise. I think that's completely reasonable. But so I'm definitely team Shield here.
Me too.
Now, again, maybe the timing's never going to be good. Truthfully, if it was opening day and we found out, we'd be like, what is this?
Oh, it'd be a giant wrench in the start of the season.
So I don't know when it's good. Now, it doesn't appear to be great with him choosing a team 2 weeks later, and it's not the Padres, but I'm all for Shield Seidler fighting for what she thinks is right. If she should be the chairperson of the Padres, then fight for that. And now I don't think the timing's great with the benefit of hindsight. I don't think it looks great, but I mean, I'm team Shield.
I am team Shield as well. I am hard pressed to think that her putting out this lawsuit is just a bunch of fabricated lies.
I agree with that.
Like, why then? There has to be a reason behind this. And reading the lawsuit, you're like, well, I mean, you look at the actions of this team, and they're kind of aligning with what she is claiming here over the last 2 years. But anyway, just back to Roki. I do believe that the Dodgers and how they have won at a consistent level, and the ownership, the Guggenheims, and Andrew Friedman, all the way down to Dave Roberts, how they have all been here for a long period of time. That is what he is referring to as the stability part. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I do. It's just, listen, and everyone in the chat or anyone on the text line or anyone that calls like, guys, what are you talking about? A lot of people would make the same decision. You're right. It's not really a shot at him. It's more, I understand it. Choosing the LA Dodgers is not like the most controversial thing that a player's ever done. We're not like, what an idiot. Nobody's saying that. Like, we're not, what a moron. Nobody's saying that. We're just saying we were led down a path where maybe he actually preferred something that LA didn't offer. We were led down that path.
That's what we thought.
And then he took the path all along that's, hey, go meet LeBron James center court at Staples Center and then go get the red carpet and sign with the LA Dodgers, which again is fine. I'm really not taking a shot at that decision. Like, I'm not faulting. We've said it so many times. Like, yeah, you're not going to lose by choosing the Dodgers. It's going to be tough to compete with them in that recruitment process. So I get it. I'm just saying I felt like we were maybe like, he was like pulling the chain, so to speak, a little bit.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And another thing, by the way, because I see people already saying, well, AJ Preller, and I just mentioned it. AJ Preller has been here in San Diego as the GM since 2014.
All right, so 10 years into the 11th.
I think he's one of the longest tenured GMs in baseball.
Number 3.
Yeah. So, okay, we want to say, well, look at Preller. But let me also remind you this. AJ's only under contract for 2 more years. He does not have
the lifetime.
A Shohei Ohtani where Andrew Friedman is tied to Shohei for the next 10 years. So, when you're looking at the stability of a franchise, yeah, you want to throw out that AJ Preller has been here for 10 years and say that's stability. Yeah, you're right. But when I look at the future, that's anything but stable. You don't know if AJ is going to be here past 2026. You don't know who's going to be owning this franchise. You don't know if this team is going to sell. You don't know if they're going to give AJ a contract extension after this season.
Dude, AJ could eventually walk. If the future of the organization is tied up in litigation and he has another offer, like, who's to say that AJ Preller is here for forever?
Right.
I mean, truthfully.
Dude, Mike Schilt has a longer contract
than Preller.
AJ Preller does.
1 year.
And so with all of that, yeah, the years part, AJ's been here for a long time. If you want to say that stability, okay. But I'm looking at the future, not the past. And the future tells me that AJ's under contract for 2 more years, and we have no clue who the owner is going to be. And we don't even know if this team is going to be sold or not. That, to me, is not stable.
All right, more quotes from Roki Sasaki's press conference on the other side. Plus, coming up next, we're giving away Aztec basketball tickets for next Tuesday night, San Diego State against San Jose State at Viejas Arena. Don't go anywhere. Will Brinson at 4 p.m. on the NFL. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
Hi.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. They take on Air Force tonight, 7 p.m. in Colorado Springs, 6 p.m. pregame. You can listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. NBA news of the day. The Heat are suspending Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. And NFL news of the day. The Jags have fired their general manager, Trent Baalke. And the Jets, they hired former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, iHeartRadio app, HD Radio 105, or whatever we are, 1015, Channel 2. Will Brinson will join us coming up at 4 p.m. Mark Ziegler at 5:30. We have Aztec basketball tickets to give away in the next 10 minutes. So I saw this in the chat. I went to Twitter. It is kind of true. When you're getting like trolled by Ben Verlander, it's not a great time. So Bill Shaken of the LA Times put Sasaki on the Dodgers. The number one thing that stood out was the stability of the front office, the quote you just read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ben Verlander quote tweets that from Bill Shaken and says, yup, Padres screwed themselves out of getting Roki Sasaki with their ownership drama. I don't think it's that simple. But if you want to put 2 and 2 together, and if you're tying that quote, front office means ownership, it means stability. I mean, if you want to put 2 and 2 together, I get that leap. I get people making that leap. Dodgers are stable. Padres aren't. That's the difference.
Okay, I get that. First off, I think what's his name? Ben Verlander? Yeah, Ben, bro. I can't stand the guy.
Agree.
He just is, he glazes over everything in baseball. It is ridiculous. Like, give it a break, my guy. Stop. Not everything is the greatest thing you've ever seen in your entire life.
Right.
Especially with Shohei Ohtani.
Yep.
Like, chill. But, I said, if I hear Roki mention that, the front office or the ownership or whatever was a big reason why he chose the Dodgers over, said, the Padres, I would get upset with that. And I would say, look, okay, time to sell. Like, you can't have a future with free agents and whatnot and international players like Roki's case, not picking you over concern of the front office. That is a major problem if it's said to be true.
So are you going that far right now? Based on that quote, where he doesn't say the stability of ownership, but it might be implied. Mm-hmm. When you hear, hey, they've got the most stable front office, that was the number one. He said that's the number one reason. The number one reason he went there is the stability of the front office. Mm-hmm. I mean, does that then lead you down the path of either figure out this dispute or sell the team?
Kind of, yeah. I do think that the quicker this is resolved, the better. And it's not going to be quick. Like, by quick, I mean years, potentially, right? But you can't have this hanging over your franchise. You just can't. And this is nobody's fault. Like, this is going to happen regardless, right? This was going to happen regardless because Peter passed away. You can't be like, oh, I can't believe Peter passed away. Like, no, that's nobody's fault.
No, I agree completely.
Life happens. Those things happen. And in turn, it's a domino effect of now his brothers, being the way they are, and Sheil feeling the way she feels. And she's completely in her own right to feel that way and completely in her own right to put out this lawsuit. So with that, and because life happens and because we have no control over those types of things, unfortunately, it leads us down this path where probably going to have to sell.
Can I be team Sheil and also team bad timing? Because I just, now I'll never know what would have happened if the lawsuit wasn't filed when it was filed. Like, I'm all for being team Sheil. I really am. I think she has a legitimate claim to the future of the franchise. Makes sense to me. Mm-hmm. She's the widow of the former owner. It makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not litigating the case, and I don't know the dynamics, but it makes sense to me. So I'm on board with that, but can I not be on board with the timing of the lawsuit? Again, maybe it's never ideal, but could we have waited through the posting period?
I mean,
I'm just asking. I don't
yeah.
know. Or would the drama still be known by the Joel Wolfs of the world? Was this going on behind the scenes even without a lawsuit?
Well, I think when we had Kevin on, he mentioned like there was inside the Padres organization, there was some shock from people of like, whoa, didn't know this was happening. But also there were a lot of people that did know this was going on and just kind of wondering when this was going to, pop out there to the public.
Right.
I think when it was all said and done, the best course of action for this team eventually will probably be to sell. It just feels like it will go down this path. And it doesn't make you feel any better if you're a Padres fan today listening to Roki Sasaki say that.
No.
Like, it makes you feel even worse. And you got, Ben Verlander, who's always on his knees, tweeting out stuff like that. And it's going to go viral because he has thousands and thousands of followers on X. So that's going to be kind of the perceived perception of the Padres right now, is how unstable their organization is from the top of the organization.
Well, then the first order of business, forget about Jerks and Profar for a second. Forget about catcher. Figure out the dynamic of the ownership as quickly as possible. Easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But like, this cannot continue in perpetuity. You can't have Sadler Bros putting out press releases and Shield litigating this, right? I mean, this needs to be determined. And if this plays out over months and years, there is no way this doesn't have a negative consequence on the organization. It's just, it may have already had a significant consequence on the organization. We don't know. And again, all things being equal, I'm sympathetic to Shield's case. I mean, all things being equal, that's how I feel.
Yeah, me too.
And now I can also have another feeling, which is I don't know if I love the timing of the lawsuit.
Yeah.
You know?
At the end of the day, is this something that would have mattered to landing Roki? Probably not, just because the Dodgers were always the favorite. And they have the resources and they have, everything that Roki, I guess, was looking for. And they have Yoshinobu Yamamoto and they have Shohei Ohtani, two of his better friends. Like, it might have not mattered at all.
Mm-hmm.
But still, hearing it from him, you're like, oh, man, that sucks. And that hurts. And also, you can't tell me that if Peter were here, things would be different. I truly
agree.
Believe if Peter were here, I think it would have been a much tougher choice for Roki than maybe it was to choose the Dodgers over the Padres. Hell, maybe he might have chosen the Padres over the Dodgers. I don't know. But I do know one thing. Peter would have been a huge part of that, pitch and talking to him. And I mean, if he's getting meetings with Aaron Judge and Trey Turner, you don't think he's going to get some respect from Roki Sasaki?
We'll give away Aztec basketball tickets in 3 minutes. Dude, this is the worst possible quote. This was the nightmare scenario you and I have talked about for 10 days. I said, what if he comes out at the press conference and says, I picked the Dodgers because they're more stable? That is literally what we said for 10 consecutive days. Like, imagine if he comes out and says the Dodgers are more stable, and that's why I went with them. And the quote is, the stability of the front office was what resonated within the Dodgers pitch, according to Roki Sasaki. That's like a worst possible quote for the Padres organization.
Yeah, and it makes the organization, from the outside looking in, look like they have some major problems, which they do. But it's just like I say all the time, perception's reality.
Yep.
And the perception now of the Padres franchise is what?
That they don't have their house in order.
Exactly.
And that they're cutting payroll.
Exactly.
And that they're not putting winning above all else. And they need to
Exactly.
determine who even the chairman is. It's not even. We keep talking about the Seidler bros. John Seidler isn't even the chairman right now. That has to be approved by the other 29 teams.
Yeah. And I'm seeing a lot of this, like a lot of blame towards Shield.
No, I'm not blaming Shield.
No, I'm talking about from
I got
people in our chat and on social media. So what would you rather have? Like, this was gonna, like, what if Roki found this out beforehand? You might ask for a trade. I don't know, but like, I would assume that during his conversations with the teams, these things would have been talked about.
Sure.
And from my understanding is the reason why Shield did this when she did this was, things in the court take a long period of time. And with the vote coming up fairly soon on who the control person is for the Padres, she needed to get out in front of this. And It wouldn't have mattered if she did this in December or January or whenever. This was going to come out.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it would have made the biggest difference in the world. I still think Roki picks the Dodgers over the Padres. I do. Because one, Peter's not here. So I think that alone hurt their chances. And I think he would have picked the Dodgers regardless if this lawsuit came out. So with that, I'm not going to sit here and say it was the complete 100% reason why he didn't pick the Padres. It didn't help, but I don't think it would have mattered in the end of the day. It just was another thing that helped Roki pick the Dodgers over the Padres.
Yeah, potentially.
Which sucks.
All right, Will Brinson, our NFL insider, will join us coming up at 4 p.m. We'll get into conference championship weekend. But as promised, if you want tickets for Tuesday night, San Diego State, San Jose State at Viejas Arena, caller 7, you are going. 877-767-4760. Replica jersey giveaway for the first 5,000 fans. This is next Tuesday night, Viejas Arena, San Diego State, San Jose State. Caller 7, you're going. 877-767-4760. Again, the first 5,000 fans get replica jerseys. Tickets at goaztecs.com. Will Brinson coming up at 4 p.m. We're with you until 6 on Jon and Jim.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
In Boston.
All right, John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Will Brinson on Conference Championship Weekend, CBS Sports senior NFL writer. He will join us at 4 p.m. Mark Ziegler is on the show at 5:30. We've been discussing this Roki Sasaki press conference in Los Angeles. It's officially official, as we know. We haven't learned a ton other than him saying stability did matter, and also we've learned that he's really tall today when we look at him next to like Dave Roberts. But yeah, I tend to agree with the way you finished the last segment, which was like, I mean, it's not like this was the end-all, be-all difference. I mean, truthfully, to your point, you've said this a lot, like, hey, Peter could still be here and things would be different. But even if Peter was still here, that doesn't mean someone like Roki chooses San Diego. Like, yeah, I think things would be different with the Padres organization. Maybe they'd be spending more. Maybe Jerks and Profar would be back, etc. But I mean, if Roki wants LA, Roki wants LA, no matter who owns the San Diego Padres.
But what I did tweet a week ago was if any part of his decision had anything to do with the instability of the Padres with the lawsuit and the Seidler bros, if it had 1% to do with it, sell the team. Pretty simple.
So you are now advocating.
I mean, I'm not going to be like the front man to this like pitch, but
like t-shirts or whatever.
No, I'm not. But I think we can all see this has the makings of a situation where the team does eventually get put up for sale. And the longer this goes on with the lawsuit, and the longer this goes on with the Seidler bros being invisible, and the longer this goes on with the Seidler bros and the Padres not spending any money during off seasons and cutting payroll and no TV deal, then how can you not sit here and say they shouldn't sell the team? Right? How can you say that they shouldn't sell with all of those things happening? Like give me a reason why they shouldn't.
The reason why, I mean, I think it's pretty easy for me. Peter Seidler said in his final year of ownership, the team is going to be in the Seidler name for generations.
Yes, I know that. So
that alone would be his wishes.
Yeah, what right? Peter wants and what his wishes are.
So that's part of it.
Should be it.
But now, again, I'm as of right now definitely Team Shield. With that being said, if they can't come to some type of resolution, if it's a Shield Seidler's lawsuit and the Seidler bros, and this goes on for 5 years, like that's not going to be a positive for the organization. At some point, you're going to have to make a decision about the future of the franchise. I mean, honestly, dude, it's messy. It's really, really messy. Even if they decided to sell this thing tomorrow, it's a 2-year process. If they don't decide to do it tomorrow and it plays out over 2 years, then they sell the team. It's enough. I mean, you're talking about a 1, 3, 5-year process that might play out. And I think the biggest losers are the Padre fans. I really do. And like, I don't see how this could be a positive. I just don't. I think while other teams like the Dodgers are doing everything they can to win, we're talking about lawsuits. And I just don't see how that's going to be beneficial for the franchise. And I don't even know. I'm not an advocate of anything. I don't even know what I'm proposing. Like, I just want to see the team win. Whomever's in charge is in charge. I just want to see the team win. It feels like this is going to potentially hold them back from trying to do what Peter wants them to do or wanted them to do, which is win a World Series.
Yeah, and I agree that what Peter wanted should happen. Like, whatever he wanted should happen with this team. If he truly did, and there's documents to show it, that he wanted Shield to be the control person, Shield needs to be the control person. If he wanted his brothers to be in charge of the team, then his brothers need to be in charge of the team. What I am saying is, yes, okay, I understand that, but unfortunately, yes, Peter's not here anymore, and if it's not going to make this team better, and if the betterment of the team is going to be compromised by the Seidler bros being in charge, I'm sorry, but my allegiance and the fans' allegiance is to the on-field product. And if the on-field product is suffering because of this, then there has to be a change.
Listen, a change is very possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want what results in the team having the best chance to win. I think the team had its best chance to win when Peter was alive, clearly. Because he invested like all he cared about was winning. Now, they didn't reach the ultimate like pinnacle or peak because they didn't even get to a World Series. But Is it going to be harder to win with this like legal situation playing out or easier? I think the answer is harder. And I don't know what the other side of a sale looks like. I mean, is the team going to be in better hands? If it's sold, I have no idea. Maybe it will be. I just know that a sale takes so much time.
It does. This team is in a really bad spot right now, man. Really bad spot. And if you don't believe me, just look at their actions.
Mm-hmm.
Actions speak louder than words, and right now their actions are not great. They're not doing anything. They have turned into a franchise that is cost effective and not doing whatever it takes to win on the field, and letting guys go to arbitration and not bringing back key pieces and not giving out, contract extensions to players that have really made their mark here in San Diego. That's what Peter wanted. He wanted to give the fans players that they could root for not just a year, but for like years on end. That's why he gave out so many contract extensions, whether they were good or bad. We can argue that how, the merits of if they're a bad contract or if they're a good contract all day long. But the idea that Peter had was, I want to make sure that this fan base has players that are good and have helped us win stay here for a long period of time.
Yeah, and he was able to fulfill that promise to a large degree, to your point with some of these contracts. I would just say this. Like, I'm not saying don't sell the team, but there have been other owners of the San Diego Padres that didn't reach the spending prowess of Peter Seidler. Like, just be careful what you wish for, I guess is my point. There have been some owners that have had a lot of success. There have been some owners that, people probably wanted to get rid of. You think about the history of ownership in this town. Spanos, the Clippers disaster of a situation. I know we're going back a period of time, but I guess my point is that it's not always like you sell the team and everything's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a scenario where you do sell the team and everything's perfect. And there's also a scenario where you sell the team and you've got the same issues that you have right now. I just want to see them have a chance to win. Well, and I don't know if they're going to have that chance with everything going on right now.
Yeah, and they have a nice core, but like we talked about earlier today, it's they have craters, gaps, that are the size of the Grand Canyon on this roster. So hopefully those can be shored up. I don't know if they will be, because the resources that are needed to shore those things up, the Padres just aren't willing to do that right now.
Yeah, and again, it's like it's a little bit of fool's gold. And you're like, just sell the team.
I know.
They're not going to have a new ownership group in March 27th. They won't have one in March 27th, 2026. It'll be 2027.
Yeah, we are 3 weeks into this
new
lawsuit.
Year? Yeah.
And this could go legitimately 3 years.
Yeah. So before this team is sold, it's going to take a lot of time to reach that point. All right. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports. Let's get ready for conference championship weekend in the National Football League on our road to the Super Bowl. Mark Ziegler will get us ready for the Aztecs at 5:30. We're here until 6 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt?
I owe the IRS $37,000.
Get
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State takes on Air Force tonight at 7 p.m., 6 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. Basketball news of the day in the NBA. The Heat are suspending Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. And NFL news of the day, the Jaguars have fired their general manager, Trent Baalke. And the Jets made it official with hiring former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 3, Jon and Jim here until 6. Aztec pregame will begin then. San Diego State Air Force at 7. Ted Leitner on the call. Mark Ziegler will join us at 5:30. We'll talk about tonight's game in Colorado Springs, but we are less than a week away from championship weekend. We'll get into that. Obviously, the Chicago Bears have a new head coach as well.
Jets have a new head coach today.
The Jets have a new head coach.
The Lions have no defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator anymore.
Are those even important positions? Anyway, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports, is with us. We can start with some of these coaching changes. Ben Johnson specifically with the Bears. I mean, seemingly, Will, it's a right fit. Obviously, the Bears are going to have to do more than just hire a coach. But what do you make of Ben Johnson leaving Detroit, going to Chicago, and will it work or not? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, what's up, guys? I think it's like, I think one of the hardest things, probably maybe like the second hardest thing behind evaluating quarterbacks in the draft that we have to do in this job is evaluating whether somebody will be a good head coach, because like you can be a great offensive coordinator and then, just because of the way that the job works, it's like the head coach in the NFL is a totally different job than any other job on the planet. And it's a totally different job than even being an offensive coordinator. Now, I think Ben Johnson has shown an incredible amount of patience, or showed an incredible amount of patience in waiting for the job that he thought was right. I think he's kind of crazy to go in that division because you got, Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, who, by the way, he decided to just bomb shade at for some reason. Yeah. And then, your old team, Dan Campbell, the Lions, where none of those, if Ben Johnson's good, that's great. But then it's you could really see all 4 of those franchises being kind of tough to deal with over the next 5+ years. And that just makes life tough. But this guy had a lot of, he turned down the Panthers multiple times. I think it says a lot about the Jaguars, who, by the way, fired their GM Trent Baalke today. Ben Johnson probably takes the Jags job, or at least it's like a, Trent Baalke was probably the tiebreaker there. They lose out on Liam Cohen, but I think he'll be good. He has a quarterback in Caleb Williams, who clearly was the selling point in going there. You have DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Keenan Allen, if he's back, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift. You've got some weapons there. They need to improve the offensive line. And if he brings in Dennis Allen as his DC, I think you feel pretty good about it. Now, the Bears are probably we did a show today on CBS Sports Network, and we were talking about next year's Super Bowl and sort of deeper sleepers. Remember, there's not a ton of great odds out there. So I'm not saying the Bears are going to go win the Super Bowl, right. But just in terms of 30 to 1 or longer, the Texans, the Falcons, and the Bears certainly stand out as teams where if Ben Johnson is as good as he was in Detroit as a play caller, and that sort of, you take that step forward, it's not hard to project the Bears as a possible playoff team. So good on the Bears for pulling it off. I always question their sort of front office and their setup, and to be able to get him, and what we think he'll be is a huge win for them.
What do you think Aaron Rodgers thinks of the new Jets head coach and Aaron Glenn?
There's some rumors out there that Aaron Glenn wants Rodgers back. And I know Rodgers hadn't been very good, but I think you make the case that the offense was sort of a little too, tailored to Rodgers, and you handed him too much stuff. We'll see how all that plays out. But I would think he'd like Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn's a player's coach. He talked to, it was Ryan Clark's podcast maybe, or with Channing Crowder, and he's talking about how he likes he had players who couldn't believe that he was having them over to his house to watch film. His wife's making dinner in the next room. They're I've never had this happen before. He's that's how it should be. And so, I do think, when you look at the Jets, look, the Jets are a mess, man. Woody Johnson if you rank him bottom 5 owners in the league, I mean, like, he's probably one just because he's heavily involved, like does stuff on a whim. This is, I think, like the first time head coach who's on the defensive side of the ball that they brought in. I mean, you can make the case that there's like an uphill battle here, and it's probably a thing for Aaron Glenn where, drafted by the Jets, believes he can go back there and finally help them win. There's pieces in place where if he can do what he did with Detroit's defense, I mean, you could see him cooking up that Jets defense and making it look pretty good. You just got to figure out the quarterback position, and that is such an up in the air thing right now. I do think a guy like Aaron Glenn, though, maybe makes it a little more likely that Aaron Rodgers could be back with the Jets in 2025.
Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn is a good, coach, but it kind of sounds awfully like Robert Saleh when they hired him. Oh, he's going to
Todd Bowles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's a trend that they have.
Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan was the first time, and Rex had success, obviously, 2 AFC championships back to back. But that's sort of been their MOs to hire first-time defensive head coaches. And again, like, you go back to it, it's like, all right, is this, like, you just don't know how to project somebody as a head coach from a coordinator position, and like what involvement will they have with that side of the ball that they come from, whether it's defense or offense, and how does that impact? I tend to think, and I think this is probably a consensus, that it's a little bit easier to maybe segue into being a head coach on the offensive side of the ball versus the other side of the ball. And again, a lot depends on, for the first time anyway, a lot depends on who you hire as your coordinator.
Absolutely.
Will Brinson is with us right now, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports. All right, conference championship weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong. There hasn't been a rookie quarterback to start in a Super Bowl, right?
Never.
So
0-5.
Yeah, so
Jaden Daniels, the first ever rookie quarterback to play in a conference championship game without a top 5 scoring defense.
All right. So, I mean, listen, I know that it's still uphill. They're on the road. They're in Philadelphia. They are an underdog, but he's pulled out so many of these games late. They beat the Eagles once in the regular season. I know it was the game Jalen Hurts didn't play in. I mean, do they have more than a puncher's chance? I mean, would you be surprised if the Commanders won in Philadelphia on Sunday?
Not at all. I mean, I think I picked the Eagles to win. Somebody's like in my Twitter mentions, like, you picked the Eagles to lose the last 2 games. They picked to win this one. Sign, you're wrong. I'm like, I'm wrong all the time, man. Like, sure.
Right.
Like,
that's the job, bro.
Like, dude, if I had a dime for every time I was wrong, I'd be like on my own island somewhere.
Right.
I think they're live to go in there and win. They played them twice. Jaden Daniels is just a different beast, and I think he's shown that. Now, I mean, like, last year this time we were saying the same thing about C.J. Stroud, right? And he had a down season, but Daniels just has this escapability. He has this calmness about the moment. Nothing has looked too big for him. He was at a huge stage in college as well. They have the weapons. I think Dan Quinn is a really underrated head coach, and he's sort of getting his due now. But this guy had the Falcons in on the precipice of winning a Super Bowl before Tom Brady pulled his warlock stuff off. So like, Dan Quinn's a really good coach. Cliff Kingsbury's done a great job this year and has called some fantastic games. I thought he called a great game against Detroit. And Jaden, De'Ami Brown is emerging as a secondary weapon. If Jalen Hurts is 100% healthy by the time the game starts and Saquon runs for $150, good luck, right? I mean, you're probably done. It's just hard to overcome that. But if Washington could go in and sort of get pressure on Hurts, manufacture some pressure against that offensive line, and then not turn the ball over, and Jaden can do his sort of thing, which is just be great in the moment. I think they're live to win, but it's obviously an uphill battle. I think Washington's not going to shrink from any challenge, but certainly they probably would have preferred going out to LA. The Rams win that game and they get to go out to LA for that matchup.
Yeah. Are you on the train of like, hey, this is the greatest rookie season so far in the history of the sport because he's in the NFC title game. He's played all, 18 games. He played at a Pro Bowl level. Are you of that belief?
Yeah, I guess I haven't really thought about it. Sure. I mean, you can talk me into that. I mean, we've seen some really good rookie seasons. I mean, even RG3's season was incredible, and Cam Newton's rookie year was just like mind blowing. I think a lot of it too sometimes is these guys who are more mobile, and you see more of them coming out of the league, coming out of the NFL or coming into the NFL now. Like, it's more mind bending to watch him at this level. I mean, some of those throws he threw against Detroit were ridiculous.
Yeah.
And his arm release, just the way that he gets the ball out and he just flicks it and it goes so far and is so accurate, even when he's being pressured and you kind of think he's just chucking it up. I mean, yeah, you could talk me into this is the best rookie season of all time for sure.
All right, Will Brinson with us right now, senior NFL writer, CBS Sports. Then, of course, there's the Bills and the Chiefs.
Oh, that game.
Just that game, obviously. Just that. Is
Yeah.
it a 7th consecutive championship game for Kansas City, which is incredible? They're trying to three-peat for the first time in the history of the league. Is it going to be different on Sunday? Will Buffalo be able to
do it? Will bet against Mahomes?
Yeah, bet against him. Are you willing to bet against Mahomes at home?
I will be backing the Bills. I will. I think Buffalo's going to win. Look, I mean, like I said on our show today, if you told me that the Chiefs won, I'm not going to be like, well, I didn't see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you told me, I firmly believe Buffalo can go in there. Kansas City's run defense hadn't been very good the last few weeks. You can kind of run on them right now. And the Bills offensive line is maybe the most underrated position group in the entire league at the moment. I mean, they are moving guys off the ball. They are running the ball effectively with James Cook. They're getting 4 yards per carry almost every time. There's none of this stuff at the line of scrimmage, have to attempt to pass, and Josh has to do magic. And we haven't really, Josh Allen's kind of staying in himself a little bit more, being less of a hero, not less of a hero, but less aggressive with trying to make these crazy things happen. And we haven't even really seen in the playoffs a true Josh Allen explosion rushing game. I would not be surprised at all if they came out and had some early design runs to get Allen with his legs going, open things up for James Cook, and then just basically force Patrick Mahomes to be perfect. And they got some injuries on defense, but if Patrick Mahomes can be perfect and Josh Allen can be perfect and the Bills could still lose. We've kind of seen that before. So I think it's going to be an epic game. I think it's going to come down to, one of these two teams having the ball last with a chance to kick a field goal and go to the Super Bowl. I'm going to back the Bills. I just think it's their time. I think it's they are confident in themselves. I believe that Josh Allen also, Lamar Jackson being named first team All-Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and the same guys vote on that as they do on the MVP, which means you kind of think that Allen is, going to end up losing MVP. I think that may end up being the best thing possible for the Bills, not because Allen's suddenly motivated to go win football games, but he feels like he had the MVP season that he's had before and was finally going to get recognized for it. And then all of a sudden, last minute, Lamar kind of steals it away from him. I think he's going to be hyper focused. Of course, Mahomes is going to be great. Travis Kelce's a problem. But I'm going to back the Bills here. I'm going to bet against Mahomes, and then a week from now, you guys can laugh at me when I answer the phone and you're like, you bet against Mahomes and he won again.
Yeah. So when it's the Chiefs and the Commanders in the Super Bowl, because you have the Eagles and the Bills, right?
I have Eagles and Bills. Yeah. So when I'm wrong on both of them,
yes. Well,
everyone can get to my Twitter mentions. I don't care. Right?
Perfect. Perfect.
I did have the Bills in the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl before the season too. So there's a little bit of sense of pride, I guess, and
you're this
sort of
close
confirmation bias.
Right.
But I want to be right, so I'm maybe a little bit of wish casting, I guess.
Yeah, you got to wish it. You speak it into existence, as they would
it's
say.
Just viable. Andy Reid is trying to say, he's like, I'm sure the Bills are favored. It's dude, come on.
Yeah, stop it. You're at home for this.
7 straight AFC Championship games, and you're at home. Of course, you're favored.
Yeah, of course. Stop it. They're the favorite. You're at home. It's the 7th time you're in it. Give me a break. Real quick before I let you go, Will, I want to go back to the Ravens, and because you mentioned Lamar and everything, and I wanted to ask you, does it feel like they, with John Harbaugh, almost have peaked, or do you feel like they just, if they just stop making all these mistakes, they could easily be in a Super Bowl and win it again with Lamar? But with John Harbaugh, do you feel like they have peaked here? What needs to change so they stop making all these mistakes in the in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some of that stuff. John Harbaugh's a great coach, right?
Great coach.
I don't think that this team. I think for me, kind of take a step back and think about the AFC. I mean, for the next 5 years and maybe more, it's going to come down to, and there'll be people who pop up, whether it's Burrow or Herbert, CJ Stroud. I mean, like there are teams that there are going to be teams that pop up and create issues, but it's really going to come down to 3 teams for the next 5 to 10 years: the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens, because they have the 3 best players in football when you factor in position. And so I don't get too out of shape. If you look at which team should have won or whatever, the Ravens should have won. The Bills just didn't commit any turnovers. And so I tend to think, it's going to be these 60-minute affairs where what really matters at the end of the day is getting the 1 seed, getting the home field, getting the bye, and then having the biggest possible advantage to getting to the Super Bowl. So, for me, I don't really worry too much about Harbaugh and the Ravens.
We'll appreciate it. We're looking forward to championship weekend. We'll catch up next week as we preview the upcoming Super Bowl.
Thanks, Will.
All right, sounds good, guys. Talk to you soon.
All right, Will Brinson, brought to you by Hamul Casino, 7 restaurants, thrilling games, and a sports pub voted San Diego's best. Hamul Casino is fun above all else. We'll get to the wrap coming up on the other side. Here until 6, Mark Ziegler on the Aztecs at 5:30. It's Jon and Jim. All right, Fire Aid Benefit Concert is next Thursday, January 30th, raising money for rebuilding communities devastated by the wildfires and supporting efforts to prevent future fire disasters throughout Southern California. Broadcast on iHeart radio stations nationwide and on our free iHeart radio app Thursday, January 30th. For donations and concert information, visit fireaidla.org. That's fireaidla.org. We'll get to the wrap coming up at 4:30. So Will says Buffalo, Philadelphia. I think the most intriguing is Buffalo, Washington. Buffalo's never won.
Really?
Buffalo's never won.
Okay.
And Washington hasn't been relevant since I was a child. Okay, it's been a long time. Now, Philadelphia recently won. Kansas City, all they do is win. So, and now people will tell you, oh, I want to see fresh blood. But then again, they watch the Lakers and the Warriors, and they watch the Dodgers and the Yankees and whatever. But I just think, to me, like the underdog stories are, well, Buffalo's never won, and they lost 4 in a row the last time they were relevant, kind of. And Washington, this is out of thin air with Jaden Daniels. I just think that you get Philadelphia, Kansas City. We've seen it. We've seen Philadelphia, Kansas City. I think you get Buffalo, Washington. It's like you get an amazing champion. Either way, if it's Jaden Daniels, that's unbelievable. Who would have ever thought the Commander? How is that even possible?
What?
And if it's Buffalo, it's like this is the franchise that cannot win, and they finally won.
I'll disagree with that, John. I think that for me, having 2 underdogs in the Super Bowl, I don't know. I want
one non-underdog.
Like if the Chiefs are going to make it, then yeah, give me Washington. Washington versus the Chiefs, that would be incredible. Eagles versus the Chiefs, yeah, we've seen that before. And everybody hates both teams. So if you're an Eagles fan, like I was talking to Erin about this last night, and she's like, we literally have a saying in Philadelphia, we know you hate us, but we don't care, or something along those lines. Like Eagles fans, they don't care if you hate the Eagles. It does not matter to them. Like, yes, we know you hate us. We don't care. So if it's Eagles and Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I do think a lot of people will be rooting for the Eagles because they just don't want to see Mahomes and the Chiefs have a three-peat.
Yeah.
If it's the Bills and Eagles, it will be Eagles fans will root for the Eagles and the rest of America will root for the Bills. If it's the Commanders and Chiefs, everybody will be rooting for the Commanders, except for if you're a Chiefs fan. And if it's Commanders and Bills, then I think there will be a split because, Bills and Commanders and, both are underdogs. But I do think the tide will shift towards the Bills because they've never won it before.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, of the 4 possible matchups,
I would like to see, personally, just because I love my wife, I would like to see the Eagles and the Chiefs just so that I could see the Chiefs lose the Super Bowl.
But what about Eagles-Bills?
That's going to be tough because then I want the Bills to win.
So you're going to root for the Bills if it's Eagles-Bills, even though Aaron is going to be diehard? Because you just said you're going to.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But you just said it.
No, I want Aaron to be happy and I want the Eagles to win, but it'll be tough because deep down, like, I kind of want the Bills to win because the Bills haven't won it before.
Won. Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen against the Eagles. I'd much rather have that happen against the Commanders than if, the Eagles, if the Bills make the Super Bowl.
Honestly, they're all intriguing, truthfully. I mean, I could be sold on Chiefs, Eagles. I could be sold on Chiefs, Commanders. I could be sold on Bills, Eagles, Bills, Commanders. They're all good. They're all going to have massive numbers. This isn't out of it's Jacksonville. Like, they all have great storylines.
What makes it great is all of the teams have star quarterbacks, even though Jalen Hurts isn't really playing
what did
well.
He throw for 65 yards.
His number. I mean, the recipe for him is I think every single playoff game they've won, he's thrown under 200 yards.
Dude, all they want to do is zone read. All they want to do is run.
Yes.
If they can run 75% of the time and have a 7-point lead, that's the plan.
As they should.
Have the receivers block.
As they should.
And just run zone read, and it'll be Hurts half the time. It'll be Barkley half the time. One of them will break free.
Right.
And they'll rely on their defense. That's what they want to do.
Because that's how they win.
But, again, you go up against Jaden Daniels, and he's such a big play threat. It's like, are you just going to take the air out of the football if you're Philadelphia? Hey, we're going to run it 70% of the time. We're going to hold the ball and win. I guess their defense is good. They can do that. But I would be scared that, can you win a shootout with Washington? No,
Yeah.
I don't think they can.
I think they can, just because the Washington defense isn't a top tier defense.
Yeah. You think they could win like 38-31?
Yes, I do think if push comes to shove, I think that if Jalen needs to throw, he can do it.
Yeah.
Last week was a perfect game to just run the football down their
snowing.
throat. Like, you're not gonna. And Stafford had a really good game in the snow, but for the Eagles to win that type of game, like, take the ball to Jalen's hands. Do not have him put in a situation where he has to throw. Now, I don't know what the conditions are going to be like in Philly this weekend.
I don't think it's supposed to snow.
But if there are, conditions where he can throw the football, like, he's going to throw the football.
Yeah,
And
40.
Yeah, he can throw. And if it needs to be a shootout, they can be a shootout.
And the other thing with Jalen Hurts is he's not healthy.
That too. That's
so
a big issue.
I watched his leg, and that's not how legs bend.
And his post-game press conference was not encouraging.
So he won't be 100%, but then again, none of us are.
But I can tell you this: while I'll be rooting for the Eagles this Sunday, I'll be just rooting my ass off for the Bills to take down the Chiefs at home at Arrowhead. Oh my God!
Well, you hate the Chiefs.
I hate the Chiefs,
and everyone does. But then now you understand what it's like to like that. This was America with the Warriors. This is America with maybe the Dodgers right now or the Yankees during their 4 out of 5 year run.
I think this is I guess
That's what it is.
Also, like, I remember hearing Darren talk a lot about the 90s and how he hated Jordan. Now, Jordan's the best of all time, but he hated Jordan. Why? Because he prevented the Knicks from getting to the NBA Finals. So I get it. Like, I hate Mahomes. Is he the GOAT right now in this era? Yeah, he is. He's not the GOAT. He's not the greatest of all time. Tom Brady is. But in this era, he's the GOAT. And he has prevented the 49ers from winning 2 Super Bowls. So because of that, I hate him.
Yeah, I get it. And honestly, like, if we're going to use our eyes, and this is a whole nother conversation, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
Yeah, physically,
you know what I mean?
And
like,
everything. Yeah,
it's just Tom Brady's unbelievable, and you can't take away these accomplishments. The 7 rings is ridiculous. I get it. Mahomes doesn't have 7 rings now. He could one day, and 3-peat alone would be fascinating. But I'm just saying, like, as the eras change, like, typically the newer players are better than the older players, and what Patrick Mahomes does as a quarterback throwing the football is unlike anything that Tom Brady has ever done throwing the football.
So, okay,
this is what I would say. I'm not.
Quick experiment.
Yeah.
All right. Arm strength. Who'd you take? Mahomes.
Obviously.
All right.
Running ability.
Mahomes.
Yeah.
All right. The ability to read a defense. Who would you take? I'm taking Brady.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
The ability to make all the throws. Is that a push?
We'll talk about it on the other side. Plus the rap. I think you could say push. And now Brady beat Mahomes twice in the postseason, right?
Yes.
Including once in the Super Bowl.
I'm
just saying, the eye test for me, Mahomes is better than Brady. That's all I'm saying.
Because he's physically more gifted than Brady ever was.
Yeah.
But Brady also did a lot of things that he's better at Mahomes than.
A lot of things.
Footwork, the ability to read a defense. He can make the throws that Mahomes make, other than like the off the foot 60-yard bomb.
We could talk about on the other side. Plus the rap. Plus Mark Ziegler at 5:30. Jon and Jim. Conference championship weekend is here. And have you played Pick 6 from DraftKings yet? What are you
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. They're back in action tonight. Colorado Springs against Air Force, 7 p.m. tip, 6 p.m. pregame. Listen right here on San Diego Sports 760. The Heat are suspending Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. Just trade him already. Jeez, get it over with. In NFL news of the day, the Jags, they fired GM Trent Baalke, and the Jets made it official, hiring Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, coming up in 15 minutes, your chance to win a gift card to Morton's Steakhouse for San Diego Restaurant Week. A full list of participating restaurants at SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. Mark Ziegler on the latest with San Diego State. Is Reese Waters still a possibility for the season? I don't know the answer to it. Oh, Lord. Bless you.
Chew.
Chew. Do you want to have, I'll have the Mahomes Brady talk. I just, one thing I want to do before this is where I want to be able to have the conversation. I don't want it to come back to, well, he has more rings.
Okay.
Because Brady's career is over and Mahomes isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So Brady at this age didn't have more rings. I'm assuming.
Okay.
So, yes, he has more rings, but that's like saying Steph Curry's never going to be as good as someone with more rings than him. That alone can't be the only argument.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm just saying that Mahomes at this age, from a winning and gaudy stat perspective and using my eyes, looks to me like a better version of Tom Brady. That's, with all due respect to Tom Brady. I get it. He's ridiculous. We're talking about the top 0.01%. It's not a knock on Brady. I'm just saying I feel like Mahomes is the next iteration of the great NFL quarterback, and he has just kind of exceeded what Brady did on field. I get it. He doesn't have the same number of rings, but outside of that, hasn't he done what Brady has done, but maybe to a better degree?
Yeah, there's no question at his age 29 season, Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Tom Brady.
If you compare it at that point.
Yeah, Tom Brady at age 29, John, only made 3 Pro Bowls. He did not have an MVP under his belt yet. I believe he had 2 Super Bowls or 3.
Okay.
I think he had 3. I think he had 3 Super Bowls at the time. Let me double check here.
Even there.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, he had 3 Super Bowls at the time at age 29. And Patrick Mahomes at the age of 29, it's ridiculous. He has, 6 Pro Bowls. He has 2 MVPs. He has 2 All-Pros. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If you want to look at the overall thing, and there's still so much time left in Patrick's career. So much time. You're 29. You could have 10 more years.
You have like 12.
Yeah, to quarterback position, right? But if I'm just comparing, all right, what is Brady's best season compared to Patrick Mahomes' best season?
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty similar.
Yeah.
Right? Now, again, Patrick Mahomes played the same amount of games. All right, so 16 games. He had 50 touchdowns, 12 interceptions in 2018, right? He had over 5,000 passing yards. And Tom Brady, in the season where the Patriots went undefeated in the regular season, he had 50 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he had 4,800 passing yards in 16 games.
So we're splitting hairs.
We're splitting hairs there. The stats are the stats, and I think Mahomes stays on his trajectory. He's gonna beat Tom Brady for sure. There are things that I would much rather have of Tom Brady attributes than Patrick Mahomes' attributes, but the one thing that makes Patrick Mahomes physically, better, obviously, is his ability to move outside the pocket.
Yeah,
it's just, there's no question, and his arm strength is better than Brady.
Yeah, I just it's not a hot take. And I do feel like sometimes you're not allowed to have the conversation because people are like, well, hold on. Brady's won 7 rings and he played through age 44 or whatever it was. And I know I understand it. That's fair. But what's also fair is what Patrick Mahomes is doing right now. We'll see what happens this weekend. Narratives change. If he loses at home to the Bills, maybe you say it's a changing of the guard, or maybe they beat the Bills and then they win the Super Bowl and he's done something nobody's done,
right,
which is 3 straight Super Bowls. So a lot of this might be determined over the next 3 weeks, but man, it just feels like Mahomes, when you watch and you see where the Chiefs are right now, it's like a little bit like the Patriots, but like Patriots 2.0 with their level of winning. 7 straight championship games, 3 rings in the last 4 or 5 years. It's just hard to dispute what Mahomes is doing is my point.
Is your stupid internet working? Giant e-brake pause.
Yeah, you're not in here, you idiot.
Yeah, I know, because my stupid internet stopped working.
But get a new computer.
It's not my computer.
It might not be your computer. Just get back in here.
I'm trying.
Is your internet working?
It says I'm connected.
Oh my gosh.
I went to Football Reference page and my whole internet just bleeped itself. Yeah, the site cannot be reached. I don't know what's happening.
Nice job.
Not my fault.
Do we have time right now to get to it? Let's get to the wrap.
It's time for the wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Is tonight a must-win game for the Aztecs?
Yeah, it's 100% a must-win. You lose it at Air Force, I mean, you are putting yourself in a really tough position. Probably, you got to win the Mountain West Conference tournament, like, to get yourself in. Like, you cannot lose tonight. Can't. Must-win game.
I agree. I think it's a must-win game. You're right. You could still get in through the Mountain West tournament, but for an at-large berth, they just suffered a quad 3 loss against UNLV. They cannot suffer a quad 4 loss. So, yeah, it is a must-win. It's not close to a must-win. I think it is a must-win for San Diego State tonight. 7 p.m. pregame coverage at 6 p.m. Restart your computer.
No.
Okay. Next question.
Who will win this week's Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines?
Yeah, I'm going to steal yours. I'll take Xander.
He's not even in it, you idiot.
Oh, just kidding.
I know more about golf than you do now.
Here.
Who's going to win the SmackDown tonight?
To be completely transparent, I don't even know who's in the field.
It's a weak field. I
am out of.
Dude, come on, man. Does your internet work? I'm going to say Ludwig Aberg.
Okay.
No, I'm serious because he shot a 9 under 63 today. He was the favorite going in. He's got a 2-stroke lead. The Swedish golfer, is it Ludwig Aberg? You know what I'm talking about. He's a very good golfer.
Yes,
I'm serious.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
He's shot a 9 under. He's in the lead through 1 round, so I'll go with him.
Okay.
Look, I mean, this leaderboard, dude, just real quick. Aberg, Walker, Springer, Griffin, Potgieter, Blair.
It's not great for the casual golf fan, I'll tell you that.
Right? Like, look at that. Seriously.
It's great to go out and experience
it's amazing.
Pines,
it's spectacular. Remember when Tiger won this thing, 6-7 times in his career? He's won a Torrey 6-7 times.
6-7 times?
So Google that.
No, I can't. Well, my computer will blow up.
No, you're back. All right, next question.
Will San Diego FC make the playoffs?
Yeah, Jim.
I mean, I hope so. I mean, full transparency, again, it's really hard for me to break down any of these players because I don't know who they are. Chucky Lozano is the biggest name on the team, but they've made a lot of moves. And until we see them out there, it's really hard to even gauge what this team is going to look like. I need to see the product on the field first. I think the atmosphere at Snapdragon Stadium is going to be incredible for their opening match. I just don't know what to expect from the actual on-field team.
By the way, Tiger, 8 wins at Torrey, 7 Farmers Insurance Opens, and 1 U.S. Open.
Must be nice.
That's pretty good.
Must be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that in Major League Soccer, it's a lot like the NBA where you got a lot of teams in. I think there's 16-plus teams in the playoffs, and there's only 30 or 31 franchises. So over 50% of the teams are in. So I do think it's realistic. And to your point, I just don't know. Hopefully they vie for a postseason spot. I know San Diego is going to be enamored with this franchise. People are going to be thrilled when they open up at home against St. Louis coming up March 1st, I believe. So hopefully they put themselves at least in a spot where they can contend for a postseason spot in year 1. Last question.
This might be my favorite rap question of all time, by the way. Will the Padres do something before the sun burns out and we all die?
Who wrote that question, I wonder?
Yeah, I know it's fair.
What will happen
so we have
first?
30 million years at least,
right,
for AJ Preller to do something. They have time.
They have a little time.
They have so much time.
You can throw Jim gets a new laptop in there too.
Right.
Yeah. Will the sun explode?
Which is at least millions of years. I think we have at least 2 million years.
And destroying the entire galaxy and all life that we know.
Wait, how long? If I Google that, how long until the sun burns out?
Oh, billions of years, right?
What's it? They're saying 5 billion.
That's a good amount of time. So will the Padres do anything in 5 billion years?
I would say yes.
Do you think? I mean,
will AJ still be in charge in 5 billion years?
Look, 1 billion years is a long time.
It says don't worry on Google. Like the AI says, you shouldn't worry because it's probably about 5 billion years.
Iron Swan says we'll get GTA 6 before the Padres make a move.
What does that mean?
Well, that comes this year. So,
But you know how I explained to you very eloquently
About infinities?
how a billion compared to a million.
Oh my gosh, he's right. Yeah. You're like, a billion's way more than a million. Yeah.
Like, no,
Jim
S.
facts.
Dude, do you think do you think this studio is going to be around in a billion years?
No, you idiot. Dude, we're only a year. What year is it? 2025. I mean, we're only been like counting years for the better part of the last 2000. So I don't think we're going to be counting years for a billion.
Do you think the Padres are going to be around do you think Petco Park's going to be thriving in a billion years?
This lawsuit will end in a billion years.
Do you think Coca-Colas and beers will be?
Do you think the Padres win a title between now and the sun burning out? I do.
A billion years?
That's a lot
5
of years.
billion years?
They should have tons of titles.
They
have
have
at least two.
They have to win at least two,
in
right?
the next 5 billion
Two
years.
in a billion years. I always think about that. Like that's where my mind goes sometimes. I'm like, yo, what's the earth going to look like in a billion years? You don't ever think about that?
No, I don't. I just don't care.
You care about like net rankings and
will net rankings be around?
I'm like,
will it be a 68 team tournament or a 72 team tournament in a billion years?
I'm like, a billion years. What is gonna be Earth in a billion years?
It's gonna be Earth.
But like, what will it be?
What are you talking about?
I'm just saying there has to be some type of huge change in a billion years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they invented the internet like in the last like 30 years. So I'm sure more things are coming.
Like, are we going to teleport in a billion years, or is the human race as we know going to be extinct because of some like massive, asteroid or man-made, bomb or something?
Do you have a Debbie Downer? Just relax. Everyone relax.
I went very philosophical in there in this.
All right. Call right now if you want a chance to win a free gift card to Morton's Steakhouse. The number to call is 877-767-4760. We have a free Morton's gift card to give away. So an incredible giveaway. First two callers will be contestants for Trainwreck Radio. That's trivia. You have to use the gift card between now and the sun burning out. 877-767-4760 with a free Morton's gift card. First two callers will be contestants for trivia. Call right now, 877-767-4760. That's next, Jon and Jim.
Kick off the new year in
before we get to Trainwreck Radio. Mark Ziegler at 5:30. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760.
The what?
What do you do at night? What do you make green beans and casserole and turn on wrestling? Or are you watching UConn Butler like the rest of the world?
You want to know what I did last night, John?
Yeah, no, not really, but yes, now I do. Yes.
Well, last night.
You didn't watch UNLV Wyoming.
I did not watch UNLV Wyoming. I did not watch Dan Hurley.
Right.
I spent time with my wife that I haven't seen all weekend because I was at home up in the Bay Area. And we had sushi and we watched television together and then we went to bed.
All right. Well, what the rest of the human race was doing was watching UConn Butler.
What are you talking about?
So listen to this. Dan Hurley, he's filled with the antics, right?
Yes.
Running on the court.
Yes.
Just the most ridiculous antics. Now, again, he's won the last two natties.
He's allowed, I guess, to do some antics.
He's a character.
Yes, he is.
There is video of him last night where the camera's already on him, and he's screaming at an official about not getting a call.
Shocker.
And this is the exact, if you read his lips, which is clear as day, Jim, he said this: "Don't turn your back on me. I'm the best coach in the effing sport." Didn't get teed up for that. Like, plain as day, said this to an official. Now, again, like, maybe he is. I don't know. He's won the last two national championships. So, but like, should you be saying that? Like, should you be able to get away with that? And also, shouldn't you get teed up?
You should get teed up. But, when you win the last two national championships, you can puff your chest out a little bit.
Yes.
I think Dan Hurley is annoying as hell. His antics are just like, I just can't roll my eyes any farther in the back of my head than I am right now. But it's like, well, he's won. So, all right. There we go. I see it on television right now.
Yeah, look at this.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad because if you would consider how much like just the different camera angles we have and just how much like everyone puts into everything, can you imagine what like Bobby Knight or even Coach K and them might have said if people paid as close attention to what they do now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
We just don't like Dan Hurley because
and he said, why don't you put the camera on the other coach? Because nobody wants to see Thad Matta.
My biggest thing was in post game that he kind of walked it back when he was asked about it. That? Yeah, it would have been better. It's just like, dude, just own it. Everyone knows you're kind of a dink anyway. So just own it. Just be like, yeah, I said it. And just kind of laugh it off instead of just. Yeah.
All right. Shota in the chat said UConn played yesterday. Exactly my point. Who cares? Let's get to it, Brent.
What? This is like the Super Bowl. All right, let's get to it, Brent.
Greetings.
Here we go.
Time for Team Jon versus Team Jim.
You want me to play?
3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Alejandro and we have Kevin. Alejandro, you called in first, so you have your choice of Jon or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jim.
All right, Alejandro, you get me. Kevin, you get Jon. Are you there, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Brent, what's the question of the day?
All right, guys, earlier this week, the average, someone turn your radio down. Thank you. The average viewerships for every NFL team was released via Sportico this week. Today's question: can you name me any of the bottom 7 teams in the NFL with the worst average viewership per game?
Least viewers in the NFL. The bottom seven of TV rating.
These teams average the fewest viewers per game throughout the season.
All right. Kevin, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
We'll go with Jacksonville.
The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Oh, they made the list?
They did. Alejandro, you're up next. What's your first guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll go Carolina Panthers.
The Carolina Panthers.
No.
Oh, my.
Wow.
Not in bottom 10.
Okay, Kevin, back to you. What's your second guess? Do you have a lifeline if you want to use it?
Yeah, I'll go with the lifeline.
Is that me?
Yes, that is you. Jon.
Obviously, Kansas City. No, I'm kidding.
No.
I'm going to go with the Chargers.
Oh, that's good.
I'm going to go with them.
Good one. Kevin, you take that.
That's tough. All right, yeah, let's go with this.
Oh, you're an idiot. You don't know football.
I forgot how much of a passionate fan base they have.
Yeah, me too. Oh, wait. Alejandro, back to you. What is your next guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll go with, let's go with Seattle Seahawks.
The Seattle Seahawks.
Wow. That surprises me.
Interesting.
Yep.
Got to question this list a little bit. Kevin, back to you. What is your final guess? You do not have a lifeline, so it's all up to you.
Okay. The Titans.
I like that.
Titans.
I like that. Yeah.
Good guess. Good guess. Alejandro, could Alejandro walk it off here?
I think you.
No, he got one wrong.
No, he needs this to stay alive.
Okay, you need to stay. You need this to stay alive. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'll use the lifeline.
All right. Thinking of a couple teams. Let's see here.
Can't say the Niners.
No, it's not them. I'm going to go with, this is in that division. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals.
Ooh.
Do you take that?
Yeah, I like that one.
Wow, Jim.
Let's go, baby.
So are we going to OT here?
We are going to OT.
Wow.
So, Brent, you're going to need to give us the rules of overtime and then the question of overtime.
All right, guys, the way overtime is going to work, I'm going to ask you another question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell out the name of your partner today, either John or Jim. Don't yell out the answer. Whoever yells out the name of your partner first, you're going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys got it?
Got it. Yes.
Cool. All right, today's overtime question. Who is the home team for the AFC Championship game?
Jim. John.
I heard Jim.
What do you got, Alejandro?
The Chiefs.
That is correct. Kansas City,
Winner, chicken
surprisingly, will host the AFC Championship. The first time in franchise history this year.
They didn't host it last year.
That's right. That's right. But they've hosted it before.
They had a 1-year hiatus.
Right. That's crazy. All right. Congratulations. Well, I want to hear the list. So the bottom 7. Can I have one more guess, Brent? The New Orleans Saints?
Atlanta Falcons.
No, they're both in the bottom 10, but not bottom 7.
Oh, okay.
It's not the New York franchises.
No.
Houston Texans. No, they're good.
No.
It's kind of a fun game. One more. Hold on. One more because it's just fun.
Patriots?
No way. Patriots?
Yeah, Patriots are on the list.
Wow.
Yeah, they suck. They weren't
they
like
suck.
any primetime games this year.
All right, what's the list?
All right, we'll go from the worst. The Titans were the worst. They only averaged 5.6 million viewers a game. Then Jacksonville at 6.4, Arizona at 8.5, the Raiders at 8.7, then New England at 9.7.
Yeah.
Denver came in with the 6th least at 12.8. Then the Seahawks at 14. The Falcons were behind them at 14.4. I'll just do the whole top 10. Then it's New Orleans at 15.2, and then Miami at 15.4.
Wait, but the fewest viewers in the NFL was what team?
The Titans
with an average of 5 million viewers.
5.6. The top.
It's all regional games.
Yeah.
The top 2 viewed teams were Detroit, Dallas, and Kansas City. They all averaged a little over 22 million a game.
Ew.
Imagine if
and the Giants were on the list. They averaged just under 21 million a game.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Padres got 5 million viewers per game.
It'd be huge.
and your Niners are 8th on the list, 20 million a game.
It's good. It's good. Top quarter.
It must be nice.
All right. Congratulations to Alejandro. You've got a gift card to Morton Steakhouse, San Diego Restaurant Week. San Diego Restaurant Week happening January 26th through February 2nd. Over 100 of San Diego's top restaurants inviting you to indulge in 2-course lunches and 3-course dinners with prices starting at just $30. A full list of participating restaurants at SanDiegoRestaurantWeek.com. On the other side, what did Roki say about choosing LA over San Diego? Plus, Mark Ziegler will join us at 5:30 as we get you ready for the Aztecs and Air Force tonight at 7 p.m. Stay with us on John and Jim.
San Diego.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. San Diego State takes on Air Force tonight, 7 p.m. tip, 6 p.m. pregame. Of course, you can listen to that right here on your home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Basketball news of the day. The Heat, they're suspending Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. They just need to trade him like tomorrow. And NFL news of the day, the Jags, they have fired their general manager, Trent Baalke. No surprise there. The NFL, the Jets, they're hiring former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn to be their next head coach. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We'll have Aztec pregame coverage. San Diego State at Air Force tonight at 7 p.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6. And Mark Ziegler from the UT will join us at 5:30 from Colorado Springs. We started the show talking about Roki as he spoke with the media today in Los Angeles. It's officially official. And the point that we were making earlier when we saw the quote was, we had said for weeks on end, if the difference has to do with ownership stability, that could be a problem, right? Because we've been talking about this since the lawsuit was filed. Are the Padres a stable organization right now? Is that going to be used against them? We saw the quotes in The Athletic or the reporting that said, hey, listen, the Dodgers really harped on that during the recruiting process. Hey, we're a stable organization. Maybe San Diego isn't. And then Roki kind of confirmed some of that today, saying that he chose the Dodgers in part because they have a stable front office. Now, we don't exactly know what that means, but he did say that today, which leads us down this path of like, we'll never know what would have happened if the Padres had a quote-unquote stable ownership group like LA.
The exact quote, the number one thing that stood out was the stability of the Dodgers front office. I tend to think that he's not just talking about Andrew Friedman. Like, that to me is everything. Like, everything with the Dodgers from the top down. The ownership, the front office, the scouting department, the coaches, the manager, like all of it. That's how I am interpreting it. If I'm wrong, then okay. Then if he's only talking about Andrew Friedman, okay. But I tend to think that it's more or less about everything with the Dodgers and not just one singular thing with the Dodgers. He also mentioned this, which was interesting. Actually, he didn't mention this. His agent, Joe Wolf, mentioned this. Quote, when they left Toronto, I felt like he could easily go to Toronto. When we left San Diego, I felt like he could easily choose San Diego. Right. And when he came back here, I really thought the entire process, it was a coin flip.
Well, that's like we watch The Bachelor or Bachelorette. They go on the date, you're like, that's the one. And then they go on the next
hometowns.
day.
We see the inner workings.
Right. And then they go on the next date, though, and it's like, maybe that's the one. I mean, listen, I'm not going to question the credibility of Joe Wolf. I'm really not. And I said this earlier. Choosing the Dodgers, I'm not saying it's the wrong decision. That's the last thing I'm doing. But I still don't know what would have happened if the Padres weren't in this current circumstance where we don't even know who the chairman is. There's a lawsuit that's been filed. Unfortunately, Peter passed, within the last 12 to 18 months. Like, would things have been different? But maybe that's life, right? We don't know, Jim. I mean, things would be different if we met different significant others, or if we moved to different cities, or we went to different schools. You can't really question it. And again, it's not like he chose the Brewers.
Yeah, no.
He didn't choose the Pirates over the Padres. Then we'd be like, what on earth is going on?
Well, it would have been way easier to stomach. Like, if your ex goes with like some super attractive person, that's a little tough to stomach. You're like, oh man. But if they go with somebody that you perceive as like not attractive, or like, I'm better than them, it doesn't hurt as much. It still hurts, but it doesn't hurt as much. So when
I see it the other way. Like, I get it.
Person in the room.
If Kristen leaves me for Fabio, I get it. Like, it's Fabio.
Fabio's ugly now. What are you talking about?
Well, you know what I mean. Like the romance novel cover guy.
Can we get a better reference here? Like Ryan Gosling, or Chris Hemsworth?
Who does Kristen love? Kristen loves, well, everyone. But
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, there's a good example. She loves Brad Pitt.
Just like Justin Timberlake.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But there's like 100 other guys.
Right. So
maybe 1,000. Everyone but me.
Exactly. All the guys that she thinks about are better than you.
Correct.
Okay.
But I get it. If Kristen left me for Brad Pitt, I'd be like, yeah, I get it.
But it wouldn't feel great.
But I'd be pissed if she left me for like you.
Okay.
Because so you're the Pirates in that analogy. Like I'd almost be more pissed at the Pirates. I'd be like, are you serious? We lost out to the Pirates in this equation.
Okay,
a team that hasn't had a winning record in forever, spends no money, never is relevant. As in, I can almost stomach it more because it's LA.
Okay, I get that. I'm just trying to think of like my own experiences. And if somebody that I like ends up choosing somebody that like isn't as like I perceive to be as attractive as me,
then you're cool with it.
Then it doesn't like hurt as much. I don't know why.
Interesting.
But if she goes with somebody who's like a stud, 6-pack, jacked, I'm like, oh.
So you're gonna be pissed.
Makes me feel less better about myself. That's what I'm trying to say.
You would feel worse if she went out with a hot person opposed to if she dumped you for an uglier person.
Right, but isn't that then saying your significant other, like, look, I was dating this chick that's dating like the hot guy?
I don't know. I just view it as like,
I just figured that'd make you feel worse. Be like, oh, she dumped me for that ugly dude.
No, it wouldn't make me. It doesn't.
What
make me
are we
feel
talking
worse.
about?
We're talking about Roki picking the Dodgers.
But I'm saying the Dodgers. There's always we said this, Jim. You said it was always going to be reasonable. They did win the World Series. They do spend. They do have stable ownership. They do have a good GM. Like that. That's fine. That's all true.
I just want to go back to this whole analogy thing because I do feel like if I see one of my exes, like in the past, not now, I don't care because I'm married and everything's great.
Well, yeah, there are no exes now. You're married.
But like in the past, right?
All exes are in the past, but yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me and my buddies, but like there's like, hey, if I see my ex with somebody else and they're like ugly, I'm like, huh, look what she went to. Are you serious?
No, but isn't that a poor reflection on you?
No, it's not. I don't feel it that way.
Dude, I'd much prefer my ex go on to date The Rock.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be like, yo, my ex, I used to date her.
No.
70470.
Maybe it's different age group. I mean,
you're not talking about.
You're not
We're not separated by 100 years.
But still, me and my friends, we have had instances where like our exes would go to like a super attractive person and be like, "Huh, get it? You're an idiot, Jim." Like make fun of me. And if they go to someone that's perceived not as attractive as me, it doesn't hurt as much. I don't know. That's just how I view it.
What time is it? They wanted a 4-hour show. This is what they asked for. They went from a 3-hour show to a 4-hour show.
Because it just makes me feel like I'm better than them. Like if
I don't even care.
If Kristen goes to The Rock.
Yeah, I completely understand it.
That's not tough to swallow.
No,
he's the friggin' Rock.
It's like the best like bar conversation ever. My ex-wife now is married to The Rock. That's like the best thing that's ever happened.
Okay.
Anyway.
Padre Donkey. How could anyone not be as attractive as Jim? Thanks.
Yeah, it's well said.
I guess. Is that thank you? I don't know.
Anyway,
we're going off the rails here.
But here's the thing. I'm not saying Roki made the wrong decision. I'm just saying what decision would he have made if the Padres had a stable ownership? That's all I'm saying. And I've been trying to preach that message home for weeks on end. What are people saying?
Josh in the chat says, what if instead of a 4-hour show, we went to a 5 billion year long show?
Honestly, Josh, sometimes it feels like it's 5 billion years long.
It really does.
It really,
like today's felt like 5 billion years.
Try doing the show. Try hosting a 4-hour show in San Diego every weekday. Okay.
Good luck.
Try doing that.
Good luck.
Talking about the same things over and over and over again.
Good luck.
Which we enjoy doing.
We do.
Mark Ziegler will join us, by the way.
As we also said, the 5 o'clock hour is the loopy hour.
It gets loopy. We've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
By the way, I mean, this is basically a 10-hour show for me and Brent because we do the 4-hour show. We do an hour pre. We do half and post. There's a game in there. This is a 10-hour show.
Yeah, you want to hang out until 9:30?
Yeah. Do you want to chill?
At least
think about it.
It's going to be 10 o'clock.
Nope.
No, it's gonna fly at night.
No, I bet it is. It's Air Force.
All right.
Pun intended.
More on this on the other side. Plus, Mark Ziegler, is there an update on Reese Waters? The only preseason all-conference Aztec selection has not played 1 minute this year due to a foot injury. Will Reese Waters return this season or not? Mark Ziegler is in Colorado Springs. We'll get you ready for the Aztecs and the Air Force Falcons Tip-off at 7 p.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 6. Jim's back page is still ahead. We are here until 6 p.m. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim.
San Diego sports traffic.
That's ready for San Diego State and Air Force. He'll join at 5:30. Tip-off at 7. Ted Leitner standing by. Is there an update on Reese Waters' health? He's been dealing with a foot injury all season. We'll talk to Mark in about 10 or so minutes. Did you see this from Patrick Mahomes, who
No, because I don't care about Mahomes.
The Chiefs, he disagrees that the Chiefs are getting favorable calls. There were 2 personal fouls that extended drives this past weekend, right, against Houston, that at best were 50-50. Okay, at best were 50-50. It benefited Kansas City. I get it. It's official. Sometimes you get a call, sometimes you don't. Would you say part of this legacy right now with the Chiefs, are they like Duke basketball? Are they getting all the calls? They're not only really good, they're also benefiting from the whistle, so to speak.
I think it comes with the territory. Before the Chiefs got all the whistles, the Patriots allegedly got all the whistles. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, they got their fair share of whistles too. It's just, like with the NBA, if you're Michael Jordan, you are going to get calls that, some rookie that has barely played is not going to get just because of who you are. And right now, Mahomes, like we talked about earlier, he's the man in the league right now. So he's going to get those calls just like Brady got him and Rodgers got him before that and Manning got him before that. And it's part of the game.
It's about when the calls are made. Like, I think I saw a stat that the Chiefs aren't getting like, if you breaking it down a game, say like one team gets 10 penalties called against them. Right. And then the other team gets 1. It's not like that's happening for the Chiefs. Like 10 calls are going against the opposing team against the Chiefs and only 1 against the Chiefs. Like it's about when the calls are happening for the Chiefs, like 3rd and longs, 4th quarters, like these basically drive extending penalties that are called on Patrick Mahomes, and the timing of them are just like, that's what I think is the frustrating part, is that yes, if you break it all down,
they actually did that like a week or two ago. Green Bay has the most third down drive saving penalties, and it's not even close within like the last 20 years.
Well, in the playoffs, I mean, it is definitely, there are moments where you're like, what the hell? And what really made me upset this past weekend, I mean, I already don't like Mahomes just because he's beating the Niners. I respect him, but I don't like him. But when you start flopping, you get into a territory of like, people are going to really start disliking you because no one likes to see a flopper. Nobody.
Here's the thing, though. What do you mean you're going to get into the territory where nobody likes you? That's already how it works at the top of the sport. The LeBron argument,
You're right.
Steph Curry.
You're right.
It's very love-hate, and Chiefs fans are going to be enamored with them. If you're not a fan of the Chiefs, which is basically 31 other franchises and their fans, you're not going to like Patrick Mahomes. He's not the one throwing the flag, because that's still a determination of the referee. Like, he could be flopping, but the referee's got to be able to discern what's real and what isn't. I thought at best, the personal fouls this past weekend against Houston were very soft, right? I mean, at best, they were very soft. And by the way, it's like the difference in football. It is truly the difference between winning and losing. Extending a drive with a 15-yard personal foul and giving Patrick Mahomes a new set of downs is the difference between winning and losing a football game. I mean, it is as simple as that. And I don't know if they get the calls or not. Again, I don't think like the referees go into the game being like, we need to give Patrick Mahomes all the calls. But there's something about the best teams getting the benefit of a whistle or a call. That seems to just inherently occur. Right.
And Mahomes does a great, I mean, did you hear Troy Aikman during that game?
I did.
I mean, he was pissed.
Yep.
And Mahomes does this well. He baits the defense. There are times he baits them.
Yeah, he does.
And I think for all quarterbacks, once you're outside the pocket, dude, you got to be able to hit the guy.
Yeah, like fair game.
Like it's
he's
fair
a
game,
runner,
dude.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's ridiculous.
Yep, I agree.
Because guess what? You're going to get Mahomes, who is very smart, and he's going to bait the defender.
The last second slide.
The last second slide, falling down, and then you getting hit. Like, it's just a situation where you have to make sure that it leaves the call out of the ref's hands for a judgment call. And that's what these calls are. It's judgment calls. Like, dude, once you're outside the pocket, bro, fair game. It has to be the case.
And Brady brought this up like a couple weeks ago, and he got crucified for even suggesting that, the quarterback has more accountability on sliding earlier when taking hits, where it's like, oh, no, they shouldn't have any accountability. If they get touched, it should just be a penalty.
How much does this have to do with Taylor Swift? I'm kidding. But I mean, there is something to be said about the Chiefs are
nothing.
The Chiefs are good for television, and let me tell you as to why.
They are.
You got games with the Commanders; they're down double digit in ratings. You know what I mean? Like, again, when you get people might say they don't want the Warriors and the Lakers, and then they're in the NBA, they're in the Western Conference Finals, and guess what? It outrates Grizzlies Thunder by a lot.
Yeah.
So we can say whatever we want. And I'm not saying the leagues plant the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals. They don't. The Warriors have been good. I don't think the league plants the Chiefs in the AFC Championship
of course
game.
they don't.
But make no mistake, it's good for business.
Oh, 100%.
So everyone knows that. And I'm not saying the referees go into a game being like, I know it's good for business, but everyone knows that the Chiefs are part of the story. They've won the last 2 Super Bowls. The last 7 AFC championships they've been in. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same story if they're not in it. And is that in the back of someone's mind where, it's Patrick Mahomes, the guy's an all-time great. He's going to get the benefit of a call.
You're going to boycott the AFC title game, Brent?
Why, are the Packers in it?
No, because they're going to show Taylor Swift.
Depends on the quantity.
The quantity of times that they show her?
Yes.
Did they show her all this past weekend?
Yeah, because
like once.
Stupid Caitlin Clark was in there.
Stupid Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark.
Yes.
Stupid Caitlin Clark was in there.
I'm not going down this path. What about was Caitlin Clark's rival?
Angel Reese.
Angel
Was
Reese.
she in there too?
She was not in there. But you have to put as stupid Angel Reese for Brent.
Did Brent, did you enjoy the video I sent you of someone who had the Angel Reese? Like Reese's Puffs.
And they can't get him in the cart. That's old.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
That's why I said you can only get it 3 out of every 12 of them.
We'll end the conversation with stupid Caitlin Clark. On the other side, Mark Ziegler from the UT. He's in Colorado Springs, getting ready for San Diego State and the Air Force Academy. Is there an update on Reese Waters? San Diego State is facing a must-win game tonight at Elevation at Clune Arena in Colorado Springs. Mark Ziegler joins us next. Aztec basketball at 7 p.m. It's Jon and Jim.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war in term life. Industry rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man aged 45, non-smoker, can get $1 million of coverage for $75 per month, level rate for 10 years. Or a man aged 50, non-smoker, can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of $110, level rate for 20 years. That's right, guaranteed level rate for 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote today. 800-200-2250. That's 800-200-2250. Don't wait. Call 800-200-2250. 800-200-2250. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-smoker rate class. Exam required to qualify.
Hey, it's Fletch, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members, billions of dollars awarded in winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win. Up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game on Prize Picks all season long. Make it your New Year's resolution. Download Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Join now to get your money in as quick as 15 minutes because Prize Picks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Download the app today. Use code FLETCH to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code FLETCH, FLETCH, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. My favorite part about the app, it's the promotions. Taco Tuesday, Flex Friday. You got discounts hitting the board all different parts of the week. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code FLETCH, FLETCH, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game.
Hi, this is pro football player DeMar Hamlin. You probably know my story about perseverance and never giving up. That's why I joined the team at Don't Quit Protein Drinks. Whether I'm training hard on the field or in the gym, Don't Quit helps me recover with 33 grams of protein, 26 vitamins, and with none of the artificial stuff. Don't Quit Protein Drinks also taste great. They are not chalky and have no bad aftertaste. My signature line of cookies and cream is my absolute favorite. Get yours now at Albertsons, Vons, Pavilions, Walmart, Ralph's, Walmart.com, or Amazon.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Helping our youth starts with understanding. Certified wellness coaches are here to support, listen to, and guide children towards healthier, happier lives. Learn how at cawellnesscoach.org. Supported by the California Department of Healthcare Access and Information.
Ow! Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door,
Or is it more than
Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Listen to San Diego Sports 760 on the free iHeartRadio app. For all your music, sports, talk, and podcasts. Free never sounded so good. San Diego Sports now.
All right, this update is brought to you by Lowe's. We'll start with the Aztecs. They take on Air Force tonight, 7 p.m. tip, 6 p.m. pregame right here on San Diego Sports 760. NBA news of the day, the Heat, they suspended Jimmy Butler for 2 games for missing a team flight. And NFL news of the day, the Jets, they hired former Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn as their next head coach. And the Jags have fired their GM, Trent Baalke. Lowe's knows it's easier to make the right calls when you have the right team. Download the Lowe's app to get their home improvement playbook in your hands so you can get their team's expertise anytime.
All right, Jim's back page is ahead. We have Aztec pregame. Myself, Ben Fletcher, 6 p.m. San Diego State Air Force Academy coming up at 7 p.m. Ted Leitner on the call. In what, it's not this showdown critical game for both teams, but it is for San Diego State. Air Force hasn't won in the league. San Diego State at elevation, it can always at least be tricky, and they just got to take care of business here tonight. Mark Ziegler will join us hopefully coming up in a moment.
Okay. You mean they're not playing like the number 2 ranked team in the country?
No,
tonight?
this isn't like Auburn, San Diego State tonight.
Auburn?
Auburn's number 1, right?
Are they really?
I think Auburn's number 1. Dude, are you doing sports anymore? Let's see. Auburn AP ranking.
Sorry, I'll keep up with the Auburn Tigers basketball team.
That's on you.
Yeah, but
Okay.
again, I don't.
Number 1.
Okay, great.
Duke's number 2.
Okay, Cooper Flag. There you go.
That's right.
Sports knowledge.
Name a player on Auburn. You should be able to.
I don't know.
Chad Baker-Mazara. Come on, man.
Oh, that's right.
He's averaging
yeah.
like 15 points a game.
That must be nice.
All right. Mark is in Colorado Springs. Aztecs are going to tip off in just over 90 minutes. San Diego State at elevation. It is absolutely, and we'll talk about this with Mark, a must-win game for San Diego State from an at-large resume perspective. Mark, always appreciate you joining us. Mark Ziegler from the UT has done a great job covering the beat for San Diego State men's basketball. Back with us on Jon and Jim. I want to start actually with Reese Waters because we've told this story for weeks on end. I know he was supposed to get some type of scan at some point in the last day or two. You're traveling now with the team. Is there any update right there? And thanks for hopping on.
Right now, I know he had a scan Monday. All I've heard is it went well, whatever that means. They've been encouraged in the last 2 that he was improving, but whether he got full clearance or not, I don't know. All Brian Dutch told me is that he expects to meet with them later this week, maybe early next week, and they'll make a final decision on what he's going to do. So there's no decision been made yet. I was at practice yesterday. He had sneakers on. He was moving around, but he wasn't doing any kind of fitness stuff. He might have done it earlier. I don't know. So I still think it's probably wait and see. And I expect we'll have an answer by next week.
Okay. With their loss against UNLV this past Saturday at home, where does that put them as far as margin for error goes for the rest of the season?
Well, I still think they have a little bit of a margin of error. If you look at like Joe Lenardi, and he's not the end-all be-all, but he's fairly accurate. He's got them as a 10 seed. They were a 9 seed, dropped down to a 10 seed. That's still safely in the tournament. But if you drop down one more seed line, which is another, quote unquote bad loss, now you're starting to get into the first 4 bubble talk. And so I think they have room for maybe one more iffy result. But then it's really nervous time. So it hurt them. And the thing about it is it's the first time in the last 5 years they've had a quad 3 loss on their resume. They've all had quad 1 and quad 2 losses, and that looks pretty good to the selection committee. It makes it very easy to put you in the tournament. So with a quad 3 loss, it kind of makes them look like everybody else. And that has quad 3 losses, and so it kind of takes away a little bit of that edge. But I still think they're firmly in. But as Brian Dutcher put it, there's a lot of landmines left in this conference, and you got to win them all.
Mark Ziegler from the UT with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Now, I know you wrote about this, about coming off UNLV, getting ready for Air Force. For our listeners, I mean, what's the primary takeaway with what happened this past weekend at Viejas and how they learned from it moving forward?
Well, I mean, there were two things. I mean, Brian Dutcher said, he goes, look, we lost every statistical category and pretty much every key statistical category. Not by huge margins, but they lost them all. And he goes, you don't have to win every one, but you've got to win a few of them. If you lose them all, you're going to lose the game, and we did. And so that is an indication that they got to improve everything. But the primary concern is the offense. It started so promising this year. You had lots of scoring options. You had lots of leading scorers, and it's kind of gotten to the point now where if Miles Byrd isn't scoring, they're in trouble. And we saw that in the first half. He was 0-7. He didn't score. And Nick Boyd as well, to a lesser extent. And Nick Boyd had 2 points in the first half. So they combined for 2 points in the first half, and they combined for 35 in the second half. But it was too late at that point. And so they really kind of drilled down on the first 5, 6, 7 minutes of the game. Their first 10 shots, 9 were threes. They made only 1. And okay, you're going to miss shots, but they were kind of concerned that some of them were really deep threes early in the shot clock before really probing the defense, making the other team play some defense, play multiple sides of the floor. And so that was kind of the focus. Like, look, they're not going to micromanage shots, but we got to be smarter than that. And so we'll be interested to see tonight against the matchup zone again how they do, and if they're really patient and get deep into the shot clock, or if they kind of revert to that panic mode and just, if they think they're open from 28 feet, they shoot it.
Are some of the stuff we've seen here, Mark, you could easily just, write it up as like, hey, they're a really young team. Like I think with what Dutch has done as a head coach, going to tournament after tournament and having some really veteran teams along the way the last couple of years. I mean, this team, when you look at on paper, I think people forget how young they really are, and these mistakes that they're making, can you just, write it up? Hey, they're just a really young team.
100%. I think, if you want to get down to boil it down to the very, very base elements here, it's youth, and youth is inconsistent. You don't know what it's going to do 1 minute to the next, 1 half to the next, 1 day to the next, just because they haven't been through it. And it's not any kind of indictment against these guys. It's just that they're young, and at the same time, college basketball has become a really old sport. Yeah. More and more teams look like the Aztecs used to look like, and so not only are they young, but they're playing against old teams. And so there's going to be moments like this, and they've done an incredible job navigating the season this far and getting to where they are and being in position to make the tournament. And if they make a tournament with a team like this, I think it's going to rank up there with their best coaching jobs, and they've had some really good ones. The question always was, well, yeah, Brian Dutcher and his staff know how to coach veteran teams. They can put in very sophisticated stuff, and they'll listen and they'll do it, and they're even keeled and all that. Can they coach a young team? And they prove that they can. But there's going to be some bobbles with youth, and you're just going to have to live with it and hope that they learn and grow. And the stat I saw, I kind of came up with last week that just to me is staggering. If you look at the 150 teams that have the least Division I experience, so there's 364 Division I programs. If you take the bottom 150 in terms of Division I experience, only one of them has been top 25 receiving votes in contention for an at-large berth in the tournament right now, and that's San Diego State. That tells you a lot about how great of a job they've done with such a young team.
Yeah, that is a ridiculous stat. Mark Ziegler from the UT with us right now on Jon and Jim. I always wonder, Mark, they've been much more balanced this year. Obviously, last year, a lot of it went through Jaden, and it worked out well. They got to the NCAA tournament, won multiple games. This year, they've been more balanced, but you go back to like this UNLV game, you were just touching on it, like Miles Byrd and Nick Boyd in the second half. Do you almost need to create more offense for Miles Byrd? I mean, he could single-handedly, he's now scoring 20 points in halves. That wasn't happening 6, 8, 10 games ago. Could you almost argue you need to run even more stuff for Miles Byrd with his offensive capabilities?
It's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that. I think the real thing they need is they need more from their bigs. Jared Coleman-Jones had 8 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 or 4 assists. He was just assist leader the last game. And that was a pretty good game. I mean, for what they had been getting out of their bigs, you'll take that from your starting 5-man. But the other 4 guys who played, Magoon, Guath, Miles Heide, Farrell Compton, and then very, very brief cameo from DeMarche Johnson, had a turnover and then came right back out. I think they combined for 2 points. And, you can't have that. I know they're young. I know they're inexperienced, but you've got to get more out of those guys. Because Miles, yes, he could become a bigger scorer, but he's also a streaky player. And it's, the thing about Jay Ledea is he wasn't really streaky. He was, 20 points, 9 boards. You just put it in the book, in the scorebook before every game. You just knew that's what you're going to get. And maybe on the road, you don't get as many whistles, so he scores a little bit less. But you knew it was very consistent. And Miles has been kind of up and down just because he's a young player and he's a streak shooter. And so it's a dangerous thing when you rely so much on a streak shooter. You like to have a lot more weapons. I mean, BJ Davis has shown some signs of starting to come around and have some big games. Wayne McKinney's had a couple moments there where he's made some shots. Taj DeGorville's had some moments. So I think they've got to get more back to just that, where they've got 4 or 5 guys that can get you 10 points at any given night, rather than just dump it all on somebody's plate.
Do you think the coaching staff is happy with the development so far of Magoon Guath, or are there things that they wish they would see now, or is it one of those things where it's his first time, playing a full season and we're just gonna have to deal with some growing pains?
I just think there was among them, I don't think they had any realistic expectations.
Yeah.
They just had, you had no idea what he was going to be. How many 7-foot guys who can dribble between their legs and shoot step back threes and run the floor are there in college basketball? And how many have never played a minute of college basketball? That's who he was. And so I think if you really gave them truth serum, they would just say, we didn't know what to expect. And there's some nights it's incredibly frustrating. And then there's others, he does things. You saw some growth in the end of the Colorado State game where he was driving and taking contact and dunking on people. And, and he looked really, really good. And then there were moments in that UNLV game, you're just like, okay, yeah, it's the freshman Magoon again. So I just think they're going to have to live with that this year. And a little bit of it's a gamble that you play a freshman that much, you start him. But, the payoff is if you can keep him. And again, that's a big if because of the world we live in with NIL. But if you can keep him and get him to next year where he's been through this whole thing, you'll see a really, really good player.
I'll go there with you, Mark, real quick before you go. My final question, and not to look ahead to next year, because there's so much still on the line, obviously, this year. And like you said, there's so many ifs. But if they kept most of it together, even assume a loss, even an important loss in there, but if they kept most of it together, what would that look like from an expectation standpoint next year?
If they keep this team together and then add obviously they're going to lose Wayne McKinney.
Yep.
And they're going to lose Jared Coleman-Jones. Those are guys, they're great guys and they're important pieces, but you can go find those pieces in the transfer portal and replace that. If they get the rest of that team back, and that includes, possibly a Reese Waters coming back. I think every day that goes by, to answer your earlier question, is more and more likely that he redshirts. And if he comes back, and if Miles Bird comes back, and you have, a Farrell Compton, a Taj DeGorville, Nick Boyd is back to sort of run the whole show. I think, top 10, maybe that's a little bit ambitious, but it's definitely a top 25 team and possibly a top 10 type team. Knowing how much better they'll be. But it's a big, who knows if you can keep all those guys together. And I think part of it is, who's the ringleader there? Is it Miles Bird? Is it Nick Boyd, who just gets these guys together and goes, look, take a little bit less and we'll be a great team and rising tide will lift all boats? Or if one guy starts to leave, another guy leaves, and then the whole thing falls apart. I think it could go either way.
Every offseason right now in college athletics is fascinating. It'll be fascinating, I'm sure, for San Diego State men's basketball. But again, tonight, San Diego State and Air Force. Mark will have the write-up on it afterwards in the UT. And Mark, always appreciate it. We'll catch up again soon, all right?
All right. Talk to you guys.
All right. Great stuff from Mark Ziegler at the UT.
Yeah, it's like this team is incredibly young.
I know.
And all of their issues that they're dealing with, rebounding, the offensive woes, jacking up threes, like not running they're young. They're a young team. The mistakes they make, they're up 18 with 7 to play, they lose. Like young teams do that. Inexperienced teams do that. So yeah, they have to work on things as well, but a lot of the stuff is, they're just a young basketball team.
On the other side, Jim's back page. That's next.
San Diego.
Final time, John and Jim. Ben Fletcher getting ready. Aztec pregame. Me and Ben will have it for you coming up at 6 p.m. San Diego State at the Air Force Academy. Trying to complete a regular season sweep of the Falcons tonight. 7 p.m.-ish.
Ish?
Ish. It's always ish.
Emphasis on the ish.
Yeah. 7 p.m.-ish.
Ish?
Yeah, that's tonight. What are you doing tonight? Let me guess. Nothing.
Pretty much.
Making dinner.
No, we're gonna order dinner.
What are you ordering?
I have no idea yet. She just asked me, and I don't have any clue. We had
Like, Aaron, I'm on the air.
We had sushi last night. If you got any suggestions, actually,
I do.
you're the worst person to ask.
Tofu.
No, I take that back. I don't want to know.
Get a tofu block, cut it up, boom.
No.
Throw it in the trash.
That's
Nope,
right.
exactly.
Soy milk.
Nope.
There's your dinner.
It's not milk.
Soy milk
and
tofu.
How good does that sound?
Like a soy milk tofu soup.
Scramble.
Ugh.
All right.
That's awful. Have you ever had that before? You've totally had that before.
No. I think tofu's awful.
What do you have for dinner tonight? Well,
You're looking at it.
You got cheese,
water.
You got vegan cheese puffs and water in this Celsius.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like seriously, like doing a 4-hour show into an hour pre, into half, into post.
How many Reese's cups are you gonna have?
Well, I've had one already.
You're gonna have another one
No,
for sure.
I don't think so.
You're not gonna go down to the street and get some like sushi or
No,
something?
because I won't miss a second of the game.
That's true. Well, you can listen on the radio.
I don't do that.
Okay.
I mean, I do. I do radio for a living.
Yeah.
I listen, but I'm saying I need to be here.
When he's done with pregame, he's gonna slink off into the back corner of sales and hide there until halftime.
I don't hide. I'm listening and watching. Coward. Doing my job.
Okay.
He hides. You can't even tell he's back there.
That's right. I'm on the floor in a bunker.
Yeah.
All right.
For Air Force.
Let's get to it.
It's time for Jim's Back Page.
I gotta blame the fans and the media. And after that, it's the lineman's fault, it's the coach's fault, the owner's fault, the turf, referees.
Today's stories that you might have missed.
We all have Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Netflix is raising their subscription prices once again.
To what?
With ads, $7.99. That's $1 increase.
Okay.
Premium without ads, $24.99, $2 increase.
Wait, $7.99 is without and $24.99, or excuse me, $24.99 without, $7.99 with. It's that big of a disparity.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
It's a big gap.
Who would pay $24.99?
Fletchwood.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, that's too much.
Yeah. So it says here.
No, that's wrong, by the way.
No, I'm reading it.
Yeah.
There's a middle plan. There's a standard plan.
Right.
Without commercials will increase from $15.49 a month to $17.99 a month.
Premium's $24.99.
Premium's $24.99.
What do you get with premium? Is that the 4K or
HD?
Okay.
The standard is just
I don't need
standard
that.
def.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
gross.
I don't need that.
Okay.
So like Netflix is making money. Why are they continuing to raise prices? They're not losing
make
money.
more money.
That's why. Yeah,
I know
because they have shareholders.
But it's like I thought everything was supposed to be cheaper now, and now it's not.
Who said that?
I'm just joking.
So the Netflix stock is only trading at $953 per share.
Oh, that must be nice.
But they got all those new subscribers when they got rid of the password sharing. So now they're like, hey, we got all these new subscribers. Let's jack up the price again.
$953 per share?
And you're raising your prices?
Wow.
People need to be like the Orioles. You know what the Orioles are doing, John?
I saw the ballpark pricing where pretzels are like $3.
Yeah, they revealed a new Birdland value menu.
Burb or bird?
Bird.
Okay.
B-I-R-D.
I was wondering what a Birdland promotion
That features 11 items for $5 or less.
like the Falcons did previously.
Yeah. It's a great business model.
It is.
Love it.
More people buy.
Of course, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
Hot dogs, $4. Pretzel bites with cheese, $4. Cinnamon pretzel bites with cream cheese icing, $4.
$4.
Nacho cheese with
$4.
Nacho chips with cheese, $4. Popcorn, $3.50.
$4.
Peanuts, $2.50. Packaged desserts, $3.
What are packaged desserts?
Like brownies and cookies. 16-ounce refillable soda cup, $4.
Refillable?
Yes, that's what it says.
That's a good deal.
16.9-ounce bottled waters, $4. Selection of 12-ounce beers, $5. 12-ounce non-alcoholic beers, $5.
Why are you talking like that?
I don't know why I'm talking like that. But I don't know. Like that is so smart.
Yeah, but guess what? I'm gonna watch an Orioles Rays game. Orioles are gonna be 60 and 29. It'll be June 29th.
Yeah.
And there'll be 16,000 people there.
That is true.
But they'll be eating cheap pretzel bites.
And they'll be drinking cheap beer.
True.
So that's really good. Oreo and Post Malone.
Did they get together on a collab?
They did get together on a collab. A new cookie flavor, John. For the first time in Oreo history, the cookie features a twisted cream with salted caramel and shortbread flavors. The cream is sandwiched between the one chocolate Oreo cookie and one golden Oreo cookie, offering a blend of classic and new tastes. The limited edition Post Malone Oreos will be available for pre-sale on Monday, January 27th, exclusively on Oreo's website.
Didn't you just see Post Malone?
I did.
Did you get a promo code at the concert?
I did not. No, I did not.
Would you want those?
I would try it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sign me up. I like golden Oreos. I like regular Oreos. I like salted caramel.
Are you a big Post Malone guy?
No.
Okay.
Meh.
Yeah,
he's good.
I'm with you. I think he's good too,
really
but I'm
good.
not huge.
No.
I think he's very talented.
Yeah, his concert was great.
Yeah.
I thought his concert was really good. There was like fireworks every music set. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that. And finally,
I will be.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch reveals a new flavor, John.
Cinnamon?
No.
Okay.
Pizza.
Come on.
I'm serious.
All right.
Ahead of this year's Super Bowl, General Mills, I guess that's the brand, I don't know, and Totino's have teamed up to create a bold mashup pizza-flavored cereal. The limited edition product combines the savory taste of pizza rolls with the sweet crunch of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Fans can grab the cereal for free starting Tuesday, January 28th at 7 p.m. Eastern on Cinnamon Toast Crunch's online store, while supplies last, of course. Quantities are limited and distributed on a first-come, first-served basis.
Okay.
Does
that sound good to you?
I mean, Fletch, would you try pizza-flavored Cinnamon Toast Crunch?
Fletch would try anything.
That's true.
I just don't know how good that would be with milk. That would be my.
I do like. This is a controversial take
drink
here.
Milk with pizza, don't you?
I like milk with pizza.
You're disgusting.
And I like milk with my spaghetti.
That's weird.
You're stoked.
Fletch gives me the thumbs up. I feel vindicated.
Are you like 7?
No, but I have my inner child
No,
speaks to me all the time.
35 forever.
Exactly. I'm
been
never
35
aging.
for 6 years.
Yeah.
All right. If you missed anything, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. We're on YouTube as well. If you missed anything, you know where to find us. All right. We're back tomorrow at 2 p.m. We've got Aztec pregame coming up next. The countdown to tip off, myself and Ben Fletcher. Ted Leitner's got the call of San Diego State and Air Force coming up at 7 p.m. for Brent and Jim. I'm John. Keep it here. This is San Diego Sports 760.
Okay, peace out. Bye.
Bye-bye.
San Diego Sports Traffic.
This report.